Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ARML. We are in session six, is the final session. Still fairly early on, but we have a nice batch of games starting with A1, probably some B2 games. There's also the final B3 games before the playoffs are going on. Those will be all stream. We'll keep you up to date on those. But I am joined by Anwi. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Just very excited to celebrate the end of a long work week with some, of course, relaxing and not at all stressful or important Mahjong games that are going on.
Yeah, I think you're very interested in this match.
Oh, this one specifically, very much so. We have here Zalong, who is going to be our first dealer, and Nathaniel, who is actually starting south, are the first two people out of demotion in A1. So what happens in these Hanchan between these two players specifically will color a lot of the landscape for what players, including me, need to prevent being demoted out of A1. And of course, Kenyon, who is starting west, is currently leading A1 by 81 or 91 points rather. So it'll be interesting to see, if she is able to, just not get fourth in either of these two Hunchons. She should be fairly safe. Although last season we did almost see a pretty wild upset, though it didn't end up coming to pass. And then, of course, Lucas, who is also an amazing player, is going to be our final dealer sitting in the North seat.
Yeah, and you're actually wrong about the placement. There is one less demotion out of A1 due to hiatuses that has already been announced. So these two are the last two that are currently still in A1,
Right.
but could certainly fall down. There is such a ridiculous gap between Steve, who is the next slot up, and Nathaniel and Zalong.
Right. These are the last two people who are out of demotion. They are not currently in demotion. They are out of it. Sitting at 17th, am the first person out. And it's a very tight line from Nathaniel at 15th back. So there's two spots that are close. And as you said, there's a gap from 15th to 14th. And here we go.
All right. So Zalong is first dealer here as a Dora. The rest of the sheets are pretty bad. I look at this hand and I just don't see a good path forward. On the right, we see the Haku has been called by Nathaniel. There's possible Chanta. You also have a floating Dora. Kind of just take anything you get with that hand. Across the way, feels like a Tanyao, maybe a Pinfu in there as well. Distant 3-4-5 Sanchaku, especially with that 5. Been nice little draw there. And on the left, ooh, that's another word. You can play it several different ways. You can go for Sanchaku, you can go for Richi Pinfu Tanya. You could even go Honitsu or Chinitsu with something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. None of these hands are particularly impressive on their own. This is going to entirely be what they
by Nathaniel. That'll certainly make it a little more exciting.
Oh yeah, but like Nathaniel has made this hand interesting by already having the two calls. If Nathaniel hadn't had decided, hey, this is a slow hand, I need to open it up if this is going to ever complete, then that two Dora would be in a very, very slow hand. But with the two calls already, we see the A1 players here making something of what they've been dealt.
Nathaniel can upgrade this potentially to a Chanta if the 9 or 8 so are drawn. But for now, just 3,900. Dealer's getting a little closer, but still way back. And that's the problem with a hand like this. There aren't good paths. Ooh, we have a very wide E-Shunt. Interesting discard cutting the 2-pin there, though, for Kenyon.
That almost feels like a Sakagiri, cutting a more dangerous tile early.
Yeah, it definitely was. Figures it's Ryanman at this point. So just looking for that 2-5 Mon and 4-7 so. May even just call it down for Tanyao.
Oh, and there's a fantastic draw for Lucas on the left, completing the shape in the Manzu, getting one step closer to Senpai there.
Aiming for that 4-5-6 Sanshuku. That's definitely going to be the value if you can get it. And there's Tenpai across the way. And there's the Richi. This will just be Richi Tanyao.
And with a good weight like this, you don't really feel like you need anything more. The 3-so's safe.
Oh, so Tenpai on the right. Waiting on the 6 so. There is one of those left. The 4-7 so, on the other hand, is a very good weight. Currently still 6 in the wall.
The ideal draw for Nathaniel is the 8-so, because the 5-so doesn't deal in, and that gives that Chanta route that you were talking about. If Nathaniel has the misfortune of drawing the 4-so, it'll be really interesting to see if he avoids dealing in on the 7.
I think you have to just go with a hand like this. You can see the
Tsumo.
hesitation
Oh,
there. Wanted to. Oh, well, doesn't matter. There's our Sumo. Richie, Sumo Tanyao. And the Aura. Kenyon strikes first with the Mongon.
all right, and that's very good news for Kenyon, who doesn't need anything huge. Like, if Kenyon just has, not unreasonable thirds all throughout, Kenyon is pretty locked into the top position. That does really hurt Zalong, though, who really doesn't want to lose any more points than necessary.
Well, we looked at Zalong's hand a bit ago, and I see 3 Dora in there, but the rest of the hand's hard to use. But we go around the table like normal. Nathaniel has 3 pairs. Maybe go Tanyao. Maybe shift towards Itsu and Pin. It's none of those hands where you're just not quite sure what direction it's going to go, but you have a lot of options. On the right, that is a Pinfu type hand. You love the 678 Sanshku. Across the way, we have a pair of East and a pair of Hatsu. So I think you just call those. The question is, can you get any extra value from this? There is a potential Chanta here, but that would require presumably using the Hatsu as a pair.
Which would be, since the hand is open now, getting the Chanta and getting the Hatsu are equivalent unless you're able to get both, which we might see a Chi here and ditching the 2/4 Mon if that's the case.
And that is the play here.
Well, and you can also incorporate Dora. So this could, you could finagle this into a Mongon if you could draw on another 9 Mon and make that your pair.
Yeah, that 9 Mon would be a perfect draw here. Yeah, I definitely like getting rid of this 4 here. It's just one of those tiles that the longer it's in your hand, the worse it is. And Nathaniel says, I'm not finishing this close, so I might as well open.
Yeah, when you're not even at the end of the first row yet, and the person across from you already has 2 calls, that's always a bad sign.
And
There's
Lucas says,
Tempai.
well, I wish I had more value, but I guess I'll just take it.
The 7-Mon's the only winning tile, and there's only 2 of those left in the wall at this point. And there's a lot of wall left.
Ooh, if the Hatsu comes out, do you call it Gohara Katanki? No.
Now, with only the 1 Han increase, it feels like a pretty massive risk to take, especially now that the dealer has opened as well. And you can't see the Dora. Although you assume dealer's on Tanyao.
Right. Dealer's not the person you expect to have the Dora here, but either of the others well could. And we have dealer Tempai now on 2-2.
One of the 2-Mon's already gone, and one of the 2-pin already gone. There's a 7-Mon. It doesn't fit into Kenyon's hand. And it doesn't come out.
Keeping the safe tile north, but doesn't really want to push this. Push the 7, just Suji to 1 and safe against the dealer.
Zalong has a very nice Ishan-ten on the left with those 3 Dora.
And Kenyon is reading that 7 is really bad.
Which is an incredible read. What do you think's making Kenyon read that as being such a bad
The late
tile?
5.
From dealer?
The late 5 Mon from the dealer, yeah.
It's funny how sometimes you read a tile as dangerous to one player and it saves you, but not because it was actually dangerous for that one player. It ended up being the dealing tile for someone else.
I imagine the 6 Mon comes out, and I think Kenyon would chi this and cut the 1.
Nathaniel doesn't like the 6-Mon,
given the way this
though.
hand is being played. And that's what happens. He says, well, I don't really want to win this hand, but if you give me a good path to Tempai, I'll take it. Currently, he's Shunten.
The Haku's fine. Ooh, the 5-pin.
You switch with the 8, for sure.
Just going to discard the north for now.
Yeah,
now we could
safer tile.
Now we could see Lucas switch to a Champon, so now there's a chance to take an extra value. If you win on the Hatsu, you get an extra Han.
Doesn't matter,
but Nathaniel's gonna get the Tsumo.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Kenny didn't cut the 8-pin there. It was safe because Zalong had passed 1 a couple turns ago. But we're in East 2-1 now. Dealer has Haku pair. I mean, there's a very distant Daisanga, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. On the right, kind of a Pinfu hand. You love the Ipeco, but the shapes are just awful. You have a floating door, and that's about it. Across the way, you can Itsu in Mon. decent shapes kind of everywhere. Maybe a 2, 3, 4 Sanshku. On the left, we have the other Haku pair. It's going to be a problem. It's Mochi Mochi already. So that's not likely to come out. You're hoping to get this to 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, especially with that draw. That's an amazing pull.
Yeah, that makes the Forso a lot easier to use as the pair. You can pawn the Haku and discard 7-9 if you need to. Although
Well,
you would lose door
about.
acceptance.
Yeah, we're not getting that Haku. I don't see that ever coming out.
Oh, of course not.
Along.
6-pin's an interesting draw here. Now you have 4 pairs. Do you hedge Chitoi?
I never want to hedge Chitoi. The question is, do I have any other options? And the answer is probably not. You could pawn this and just go Toy.
The issue is these aren't particularly pawnable tiles. The 4-pin and the 6-pin you would have already had pawned if you had accepted that. The 4-pin is not inspiring as a Toy tile.
No, but the Tumon isn't that bad. You figure the Haku isn't that bad, and with the Haku you can always use the Penchon as a Penchon if you want to go that direction. But instead, just playing it a little bit more passive. Figures this hand isn't worth it yet.
We do see that Lucas across the way is Ishanten already. Not Ishanten for the Sanshoku that I'm sure that he would like. Ooh, that's a good draw. Do we see the 2-4 Mon ditch now? No, ditching the 7-8-9.
I definitely am like cutting the 9 there. It's actually as a Ryankon in Monzu. Locks in the Tanya as well.
Right, because you're using the 8-so as the pair there. Very nice. We also have Ishanten on the right for Kenyan now.
Potentially reach a Pinfu Dora if the 2-so comes in. The 2-so is actually really good at the wall at this point.
Nobody getting what they need at the moment. There's a Dora into Lucas'
draws
hand.
Dora, but it doesn't really fit. Just gets rid of it immediately. Which also should set alert off to the table. That hand is probably pretty close.
Oh yeah. Well, this is where it's interesting. If you had still had the 9-mon in hand.
There's the 2-so I was calling.
There's Tempai. And there you go. Richi Pinfu, Dora 1.
Now, the 8 isn't safe here, but it's not that bad.
There are still 6 tiles left in the wall for Kenyon to win on. Tsumo. There it is!
Just
the
Sumo.
Ipatsumo.
That's the Ipatsumo Mangan minimum, and Dora would be Hanemon. Doesn't
get
it,
it.
but Kenyon is... This is what Kenyon's been doing all season. That's how you have that plus 300.
I mean, it just seems like so far in this game, Kenyon's reading of the table has been absolutely immaculate, and now has 2 Dora to play with.
Yeah, 2 Dora, possible Sanshoku with the 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4, depending on the shifts. That's a pretty good hand.
Not the only good hand at the table, though, for sure.
You have the East pair, so you can call it. The rest of the shapes are a little weak, though. Across the way, yeah, that hand's bad. Maybe an Itsu and So. Hard to use everything. You have overlap everywhere. That 2, 4, 4, 5, 7 kind of tells the story of the hand. Well, that's your stronger block because you have Penchon, 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 and then the Ryanman. And on the left, well, that's actually a pretty interesting hand. Could go Chitoi, could even go towards a Ryu.
Not all green. You sounded like you were about to pitch for Ryuso.
That's not the word I want. Rion Peiko.
Rion Peiko? There we go. The other RY one.
It's one of the Rion.
They're both very beautiful. And you know what? They're almost equally as rare. Rion Peiko is only
could see a call here from Kenyon. Doesn't want to do it though. You do expose yourself to needing some upgrades to turn this Tanya in that way, but I do like 3 Dora.
Yeah, it's just so awkward. Like, having to cut away from the complete 1, 2, 3 shape is... it just feels so bad. And there's so many situations in which that will turn bad for you. Oh, but the Peiko finished for Nathaniel. That actually makes it Chitoi Ishanten as well, according to what you draw next. Does cut the north.
I don't like the north cut there. I definitely don't think the 6 does anything for this hand.
Yeah.
You're kind of begging for Sanshoku, but you're so far off, and that lock's already here. That pay well, okay.
Oh, but the 6-mon is immediately drawn. I was wondering, so do you cut 3-mon here? Yeah.
The 2 is actually really bad. I agree with the Dama. If you're gonna Ricci, you Ricci on the 2 here,
Well,
and wait on the 3.
this is probably why Nathaniel was hesitating on the north, because you'd really like the Chitoi Tempai waiting on the north
Yeah,
once
and I
cut.
think that would have come out from Zalong anyway with the Apatsu there.
We do have Kenyon with 3 Dora in hand closed now.
Wow.
Nathaniel's going to be inspecting each of these new tiles to try and decide, when is the right time to Ricci. This is a Tanyao Chitoi, which is pretty rare, so a Ricci would bring it up to 6,400. Right now it's 32 as opposed to the normal 16.
Each.
There it is. Taking the Tuso. A very loose Sotagawa trap there, with the 3-so being discarded as the 4th tile. And sees another 3-so cut, so figures the 2-so isn't a bad weight, although we see every single other 2-sos being held in hand and used right now.
Wrong.
Oh, but it immediately comes out!
Well, just deal into the Apatsu. No Ura, but a big win for Nathaniel. And that's a direct hit on the person you are fighting with for placement.
That is so, even though Kenyon has won bigger hands so far, that is the biggest hand overall standings wise. Nathaniel getting that directly off of Zilong is absolutely massive.
And Nathaniel's been a survivor multiple seasons, has been in kind of this situation where you're kind of right around that cutoff at a table with your main competition, and has managed to survive in A1 thus far.
I mean, when Nathaniel ranked up from A2 to A1, we saw Nathaniel on stream achieve the score he needed by literally 100 points. Like, Nathaniel has done an incredible job of riding the exact wire perfectly his entire time in the RML.
Well, we have Lucas here. They're pretty good hand. Look for a little more value, though. That's the only complaint I have about this one. Maybe it's Ricci Nomi is the problem here. I'd love to draw the 5 pin, maybe make something at least better shapes out of this.
Gonna have to
Potentially
race
raise
Kenyon,
if I
though.
sent Sanshku. But yeah, there we go. Kenyon's calling this one. Doesn't have much there either. On the right, I mean, you'd love the 6 and 8 Sanshogu, but everything just hard to use. Best hand is the one across the way. You can call the Hatsu for Hatsu Door 1, maybe 5, 6, 7 Sanshogu. And see an upgrade to Ishan 10 for Kenyon. Also see an upgrade to Ishan 10 for Lucas.
Do you agree with the 4-mon cut there?
I'd probably lean with the 3-so rather than the 4, but I don't hate either.
It's interesting because if you draw 3-mon, it's not like that actually improves your hand any. So leaving open the ability for the 2-3-4 shape in Monzu, I guess you could go. Well, there's the 3 though.
Well, you see, because you have this Onko that you'd be hedging a bit towards a regular Pinfu. Because as it is, it's just going to be Richinomi, regardless of where it goes. But we have a big upgrade there on the left.
That's now a well, is that
it's a perfect Ishanten, but not the way you would think normally.
And it could be 3-4-5 Sanshoku. It's very well set up for that at this point.
Yeah, if you draw the 6-mon, then you definitely win on the 3-6. Ooh, we see a Chi cutting the Hatsu there for Nathaniel.
I mean, being almost halfway through the second row, I wonder if Nathaniel suspects that the Hatsu are well, I mean, not Mochi Mochi, because no one called it.
Well, draws the Dora, hesitates a bit, and then just throws it.
But immediately draws the 8.
That is Tempai on the left, waiting on the 7-mon.
Lots of upgrades there, though.
Yeah, but a bunch are 4-10, so not as good as it may feel.
Specifically, if you draw the 4-mon or the 7-mon, or, well, at the 7-mon, you just sumo, huh?
Yeah, that's what I do anyway.
That'd be the classical decision there.
We have that Ishanten on the right for Ricci. No, that is not Ishanten. That's Rion. Oh, there you go. There's
for
your
Lucas.
Ricci.
And that's going to be waiting on 5 mon, 8 mon, reaching Nomi.
Yeah, which is actually really bad right now. All the eights are locked up. The
See.
fives are, well, there's
Tsumo.
another one.
Oh,
Oh,
but the
doesn't matter.
7 mon sumo immediately, right when across the table Nathaniel had entered Tempai too. I mean, Kenyon won 3 out of 4 of the hands in the East round there, and 2 of them were Mongon level or close to it.
Yeah, and that weight I think only had 1 out, so it feels bad to have that kind of shape. But Zolong, now last time this will be the dealer here in South 1, barring a repeat. We have the Haku pair, a few other pairs, but the hand's hard
Boom.
to use. It's a Haku and hope you get the rest of it to come together. On the right, though, Nathaniel calls the South. That is a double South. Also can call the Hatsu, so that's plenty of value right there. Across the way, that is a Pinfu type hand, maybe a 4-5-6 or 5-6-7 Sanshoku with some shifting. On the left, though, that's an interesting hand. Doesn't want the Chinitsu. Is probably just going for Tanya Dora too.
Home.
And we do see Zolong taking the Haku pawn there.
And Nathaniel having to decide on this really wants to call the Hatsu later. I would take this, but there are a lot of people who have passed this.
Does end up taking it. Has the Ishanten now.
It's one of those hands. It's going to feel bad if you only win 2,000 with it, but you can always pair up basically anything and get back to where you can call the Hatsu anyway.
Well, but for Nathaniel, ending Zolong's dealership is far more valuable than the measly 2,000 that you win with the double Yakuhai.
Well, already has the double Yakuhai, but getting out to 4,000 is something you have to at least be thinking about.
Oh, for sure.
Could go Honitsu even. You can see the temptations. Like, no, these shapes are too good. I think as a long work dealer, I might get greedy and do it, but you know who your competition is right now. And we'll take the headless Ishanten here.
I wonder if now we see Nathaniel cut from the Mon shape. And does.
The thing is, the Honitsu only gets us to potentially 5 Han. So you're getting the double value up to Mongon, but these shapes are just really rough.
Yeah, the only way this becomes a good weight Tempai is if you draw the 8-pin.
Or the 7.
7-pin would also be fine, the Nobiton shape.
Oh, and you feel really bad there with the discards, the 1, the 3, and there's your 2.
But at least now you have 2 different options. Like, you've increased your number of Honitsu Tempais this way.
Right, and also has the advantage it's safe against the dealer if you start getting scared.
Well, that's a nice draw for Zolong. Now has the 4-5-5-6 shape in the Sozu, which is expanded by the 7-8-9.
Right, and the rest of the tables you definitely pick up on a 3 call Kataryanman. That tends to be a late Honitsu shift when that happens.
Especially when you see the 1-3 cut right before the Ryanman cut.
Now, speaking of late Honitsu shifts, we may see one from Zolong.
It's not like Zolong has anything else at the moment. There's no pair in hand, really. Not a good one, anyway.
Now, that is an ugly draw for Nathaniel. Anything 4 or above will get you Tempai.
Kenyon, unwilling to cut the 7-pin that comes in hand, can make use of it. Just has to maneuver the hand a little bit, and there's the Tempai.
7-pin.
Do you cut
There
9-pin or
are
6-pin?
2 left in the wall. Yeah, you definitely got the 9 because you could always draw another 5, and then you have the 3-sided weight.
All right, the 4-pin, 6-pin, 7-pin.
Well, look at what just happened on the left. We have 3 Dora.
And that's a 2-pin, 5-pin Tempai.
Which is safe against the what we think is the expensive hand. At least that's what I would suspect.
I mean, pin does look so expensive right now. I mean, even though Nathaniel's the one who looks like they might be going pin Honitsu, Nathaniel's discarded the most pin out of anybody at this table. There's another 7. I doubt Kenyon discards
you shouldn't be
it.
bad. You should not be forcing this one. I mean, you could call, but I don't think it helps much.
It
Okay,
does!
it's just going for it.
It flips the 1 pin
Adds
as
another
Dora.
Dora. This is now a Hanemon for Nathaniel.
And there's a 5 pin coming into Kenyon's hand. We now see all 4 or 5 pin.
Ooh, that's an interesting draw. Do you want to take the
Oh,
Tonki?
oh,
That's
it
going to be
deals
the play. Deals into the Mongon. And
equalizes things a
Nathaniel
little
gets
bit.
hit here, and we have 2 people sinking, and that's a really big deal in for Nathaniel. Currently in that position in relative safety, but remember, just staying ahead of Zolong isn't necessarily good enough. There are a whole bunch of people chomping at the bit to be able to make up some points later, including some Tucker person.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're Zalong or Nathaniel here, you definitely don't want to be negative over the course of these 4 Hanshan.
Dealer here has probably Richinomi. There are potential upgrades to Sun Anko, but that's about all. It is
I mean, it is
currently
Ishanten.
Ishanten, so if you end up with this ugly 3-mon Kanchan, though, I'm not particularly thrilled with it. On the right, aiming for the 4-5-6 Sanshoku has decent shape. That's also Ishanten, but also a terrible weight unless you draw the 4. Across the way, feels like a Tanyao. There are other ways to play it, but unless you draw the 8-pin, it's not much. Well, now you have a Dora, so you have even rougher ways to handle this. Could go for a 5-6-7 or a 7-8-9 Sanshoku. On the left, we have a Hatsu pair, floating Dora, pretty good shapes altogether.
Do you think you could walk us through why Kenyon discarded the 5-pin instead of the 8-so 2 turns ago? Hand is the same, just with the 5-pin Sumagiri.
Doesn't matter. There's our Ricci from the dealer. Now, if Kenyon's doing this, probably think the 8 gives at least some flexibility. Wants to keep it as a floater for potential 6-7-8 Sanshoku, but it's more to disguise anything else going on in pin. I would keep it because I like the Peiko upgrades, but that was the decision making. And dealer here has Ricci Nomi, but waiting on the pay and 5-mon. I wouldn't expect the 5-mon to come out, but that last pay, I imagine if it gets drawn, it comes out.
Yeah, very easy to see that discarded by another player, unless they are full folding and have a bunch of other save tiles.
And Kenyon's had 2 chances to take Tempai, but certainly doesn't want it here, especially given the current score line.
Well, and with their winning tile, the 4-so already being cut.
Oh my goodness! Now can even Dom awaiting this 8-so, and I imagine Kenyon just pushes if there's a better weight.
Well, that would be Pinfu.
I think that just comes out, and I think you have to push this.
A Tanyao Pinfu.
Will Dama, but the 2-so is actually dead.
Well, it's not totally dead. There are situations where Lucas would have to cut it. You don't want to use the 1-so as a 1-2-3 shape because the 1-so is Dora. So you really want to use the 1-so as either an Anko or a pair. It does cut the 1-so though, with it being safe after the long cut.
Well, doesn't matter. There's our Sumo.
He gets drawn.
Sumo. That's going to be a bunch of food. No aura, but does get 1,300 all. Nathaniel's still under 30k, but limits some of the damage that happened the previous turn, and wakes up with 2 Dora Yakuhai. So this is very much a call and go. On the right, that's a Pinfu type hand. Shapes are a little awkward, though. Across the way, I don't know what you do with a hand like that. Do you just think about Kokushi? I'd probably hedge towards it anyway.
I mean, there are currently 8 distinct terminals and honors in that hand.
No, not even tempted. I'd probably start with a 5-mon because I don't want this to be a regular hand anyway. If it turns into Junshan or Chanta, okay, but it's kind of hard to do anything with it. On the left, that is a Pinfu type hand as well. Really need the 7-so, and you have the ugly 1-1-3-5-5-7 pin shape, so going to be hard to get anything from it. Oh my goodness, look at what Nathaniel is pulling in.
Yeah, now you can call with absolute abandon because there's no way you end up Otsuzuke now that you have 2 Yakuhai
I don't
pairs.
like that 2-so at all. I feel you should cut the 7-so or the 4-mon here because you may even want the toy choices.
Oh yeah. Leave yourself a little bit more options. I probably would have cut 4-mon first just in case you end up drawing a bunch of Sozu, even though it would be hard to end up cutting away from the 9-mon pair at this point. But now we have nice shapes in the hand. Does have
Let's
6
see
shapes. We'll
here.
have
If
to
I
cut
still had another
one.
Tsumo, I'd be tempted to even hedge towards Honitsu. But regardless, nice little hand. Oh my goodness. Ishanten now can call either the Haku or the Chun. I mean, imagine the Haku's coming out across from Lucas.
The fact that Lucas is hedging the Chanta here is going to make it. Well, it
Oh
doesn't matter. Just
my
draw it yourself. Who
goodness.
cares?
And
Dama.
this is Dama because it's 9,600 and it may come out right now. But no, can you
Not
get
yet.
rid of this extra honor first?
The dealing
This
tiles are
is
the 5 so and
actually
the 8
normal
so.
Dama here. When you have 9,600 good weight, that is normally Dama. Because it's so hard to get to that Hanemon level.
Yeah, you really want a Ricci to double your hand value.
Well, that 7 definitely gets cheated.
9 so or 9 mon. Cuts the 9 so.
Uh-oh. Both of those weights are going to be completely dead.
But if you can get the 1 pin chi, you'll survive. Well, I
There
guess
was
it's
Tempai
not.
on the left, wasn't taken. Would have just been an 8-pin Kanchan with 2 outs. I certainly understand passing it.
Oh, and there's the 3-sided weight.
I think you just smashed the button here.
258. That's Ricci Pinfu on the left for Zalong. Should he call
Zalong
it?
needs points. I think you have to just hit the button. And Nathaniel, I imagine, chases right now. Oh, the Gimbutu 8 so. In that case, yeah, you definitely don't.
There it
Lucas
is.
deals into it.
And that's massive because that's going to put Nathaniel into second place now and well above 30K.
Yeah, that's a huge pickup for Nathaniel and drops Lucas down to 20,000. So
Really
big hand there for Nathaniel.
Really not a horrible result for Zalong either, because now you have someone within manga and sumo range, which was not the case before.
The problem is the person you're competing with in the ladder is the one who got the big boost there, so it's not good.
That's true. If you can stay positive, though, you don't necessarily have to beat Nathaniel. You'll just feel better if you beat Nathaniel. But since both of them are currently above demotion, anything positive is definitely going to feel better than what's currently happening.
Well, here's Nathaniel again, has a floating door. This is definitely a Tanya hand. On the right, that is a Pinfu hand. Would love that 4-5-6 Sanchoku potential. Also, distant Itsu and Mon. Across the way, we have a Dora and decent shapes, but the idea here is call the Shaw. Maybe a 2-3-4 Sanchoku in there as well, especially now. And on the left, well, a few pairs. It's going to be a Pinfu, but it's not likely to be a Pinfu because you're going to have to fill the 1, 3, 5, and 8, 9 pin.
With the 4-pin being Dora, though, you would really like to get that 4-pin draw.
I mean, if you draw the 2-pin, do you just cut the Penchon?
I probably do. Well, but yeah, you're just too close to entertain Itsu at this point. There's too many shapes you'd have to cut.
And Lucas actually cuts from the 4-so to avoid the 4-8-10. Means if Tempai is reached by calling the 3-mon, we'll have to throw that door out there. And speaking of Penchon cuts, there it goes.
For the record, Lucas can't call reach, is open now. Is cutting the 2-4-mon here. Ishanten for Nathaniel.
It would be Tanya Dora 1, so good enough, but all the 3-pin are accounted for right now. I'm trying to see these upgrades. Kenyon now may just give this up and go Tanya. I like the 9-pin here. But that does get Lucas to Tempai waiting on 3-6. Not that great a wait when you're waiting on the door indicator, but the 6 you figure is at least okay, and it's much better than okay. There are 3 left.
And that 3-pin could... there are definitely scenarios where that 3-pin comes out of Zalong's hand. If the
All
five
of which would
pin ends
result
up,
in Zalong being very sad because that meant Dora wasn't drawn.
this is one of them.
And there it goes. 2,600, and Lucas gets at least some of the points back. Kenyon is dealer here in South 3.
And it doesn't seem like Zalong has been playing poorly. Just Zalong has been on the unfortunate end of every single deal so far.
And that's kind of happened to him last session, too. It was just in a bunch of really bad situations and was sitting there around minus 15, minus 20 and dropped all the way down to where you see the score now. Really rough session. But Kenyon here, I mean, you just go Honitsu with this. This is a monster hand. You have a floating Dora. Could even upgrade this to Toy Toy on the right draws. On the right, Tenfu shape, but kind of slow. Ooh, if I'm Kenyon, I'm definitely thinking Toy Toy now. And yeah, I like the 9 for sure. Across the way, maybe distant Itsu in so. The rest of the hand isn't that great. Shapes are awkward, hard to use. On the left, well, that's actually Ishan 10. Would just be Richi Nomi, but that would certainly be good enough. Oh, no, and Kenyon says, forget Toy Toy. We're just going for the Honitsu.
Yeah, the Haku
Senpai on the
not a good
left could
tile.
cut the 1 mon if you don't just hit the button here.
It's so early, it's kind of hard to read how good in the wall the Tumon might be.
Yeah, it says, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to hit the button.
8mon's safe, and so is the Haku fairly safe for Kenyon.
Yeah,
so
Haku
a couple
could
of
deal
rounds
into
here.
Cheetoy. It'd be really weird to take a Hellweight Cheetoy here.
We do see there are 2 Tumon left in the wall.
Well, that gets called. Oh, it doesn't get called. Kenyon's like, I'm done.
Yeah, can just play safe. Has a couple of tiles here. You imagine the West is probably okay. Even if the West does deal in, it doesn't add value since it's not the seat wind. And now the 1-pin's safe as well. So Kenyon will be able to ride this one out if she
Yeah,
chooses.
Kenyon has a few safe tiles now. In the meantime, Lucas may be fighting this, depending on what comes. A 3 is definitely a push.
Yeah, I mean that 3-pin could have added value to the hand if you're able to make any Payco out of it. It just would have required pushing some other very difficult to stomach tile, like the 8
With that
or the
5 pin,
mon.
Kenyon now has safe tiles for days.
It's not unthinkable that Kenyon would get back to Tenpai with this hand.
We do see 2 people with a floating Tumon that may come out, but is unlikely.
North certainly the first cut for Lucas.
And Kenyon's actually in an awkward Ishan 10. Could just discard the 4 as a safe tile. Kind of back the way in. But there's the
Sumo. But there's the Sumo.
Richi Sumo. No aura, but 3,000 gets the stick back and 2,000 more. And within striking range of first is where it all last.
And first would be absolutely massive for Nathaniel. And what's nice is the fact that Lucas is the person in second, that makes it a little bit easier for you to push. I mean, if Lucas wins a dealer Mongon off of you, you're barely below 30k, which would be bad. But against anyone other than Lucas, you can kind of push for first and still end up with a good result here.
Right, because you're not likely to deal into anything much under 30k. But dealer here has decent hand, few completed shapes. Not much value unless you pair up that Dora, but if you pair up that Dora, instantly a ton of value. On the right, kind of a Tanyao type hand. There are ways to get more out of it, but it's going to be difficult. Maybe even Itsu, but I think you just take what you can get. Across the way, now you have to think, do I want to go Sun Shigu? Do I want to go Tanyao? Do I want to just play straightforward? And just throwing the 8-so back, probably trying to float as much efficiency as possible. On the left, I mean, it's a Pinfu hand, but it's a long way off. You also have a floating Dora, and the Dora has been paired up by Lucas.
So that tune now very dangerous for Kenyon's hand. I wonder if you're Kenyon, do you just hold on to this tune for forever? You say, you know what? No matter what, I'm just never discarding this tune. I don't need to.
There are different ways to think about it. Just considering where Kenyon is in the standings, might get held.
And we do see Nathaniel choosing the Kanchan pair, the 335 Mon, over the Ryankon 135 Mon. Discards the one, maybe hedging Tanyao here.
And now hedging Upeko on top of it, even potentially Chitoy.
4 pairs towards Chitoy. So 2 Shanten for Chitoy, 1 E Shanten for normal hand. Zalong also not
Now
E Shanten
5
for
pairs
Chitoy.
across the way for Nathaniel.
What do you discard here? One
Just
pin?
one. It's always the one. At least that's how I'd treat it. Because I think the Mon tiles look really good in the wall. Well, that's going to get pwned for sure.
Ooh, 2 Mon, 3 Mon wait for Kenyon. This is, well, it's such a tricky wait. This really complex Kanchan Tanki that Kenyon has going on, but we already see 3 of the 2 Mon and 3 of the 3 Mon. There's only 1 each of those left in the wall.
Oh, dealer Tempai for Mongon on 3-6, so. And
Zalong's going to have a very hard time getting to Senpai without dealing in.
But
well, it's Nathaniel that's going to deal in.
Kind of a Sashiko. He doesn't realize. Oh, never mind. Never mind. No more Urasan. And Kenyon going to get a big win out of this. Nathaniel's going to get a few points, but not nearly as much as he was planning on. Lucas with the minus 12.2. Kind of sad, couldn't complete that win on the very end. And Zalong just can't get anything together. This is a long streak that's developing. 35.3 is going to absolutely crush.
Yeah, I mean,
in the meantime, we have another game that's gone on. That's a B3A game. That is the last 2 of their set. They tried to schedule it last week, but Tenho was down. So all the B3 playoffs are reliant on that one. The result was Michael with 25.1 in first, Miguel 13.7 in second, Blake in third with minus 12.6, and Cesar in fourth with minus 26.2. We'll keep you up to date on that because we will have the pairing set up for the B3 playoffs once those games are done. We'll keep you updated.
And of them, that puts Michael very close to a playoff spot. With 1 game left, Michael is about 18 points. 18.5 points out of a playoff spot to try and compete to get into B2. That also puts Blake right on the edge of a playoff spot to stay in B3 as opposed to dropping to C1. I believe that puts Blake in the last person that is not being demoted. So the bottommost playoff spot between B3 and C1. So both Blake and Michael have a lot for in that final B3A game.
So we have another game here in A1, or we could switch to the B2. It is up to you.
I think let's stick with the A1 game. I like following the same table 2 in a row. Also, we need to see if anybody gets revenge on Kenyon for that nasty Ura 3 at the very end. I mean, for Nathaniel overall, that was such an incredible game. And to just have 8 points that would have been, just 8 points safer is so much at the end of session 6. To have those stolen away by Urasan at the very end of the game is absolutely tragic if you're Nathaniel. And it's not like Kenyon even needed them. It's just icing on the cake for Kenyon, adding to her absolutely massive lead in A1.
Well, Minko could definitely go on a roll and challenge Kenyon. Kenyon definitely wants this season. At the same time, Nathaniel is starting to break away from the demotion pack there, but only 32 points over you, who is now currently out of demotion. But that is just the first of 4 games. This is the second A1 table that has played a single game. The table of 5 played 1 game.
Yeah, and I mean this is part of what is so exciting and the issue with A1. I mean, all the way down to 19th place with Claire. everybody can so easily come back in just one game. I mean, you've got Claire, who is very good at creating big hands, has played in the scene for a long time. Zalong, who we've seen dominate several divisions so far. Amy, who won the last Reaching Only Open and has had a lot of success, is a very good, a very intuitive, very aggressive player. I'm very defensive, so I don't gain as many points, but I typically don't lose that much, not as much as I have this season anyway. Adjusting to A1, and then Nathaniel, who's also a more conservative player. So I mean, you've got everybody at the bottom here can shake things up in a single game. So that's what makes things so tense in A1 specifically.
Right, and we still have a full session left. Garrett could come back. Bishan could come back, but is in a really rough spot, especially down a game already.
I gotta say, after playing Beachin in person, Beachin is just like his intuitiveness is just so incredible. Like even I was at a table where Beachin like lost the round, like had the fewest points out of all four people, like in person at the Cincinnati Open, and he still felt like the best player at the table. It was incredible seeing him play.
Now, dealer here is Nathaniel. Has a Dora decent shapes, but you'd really like to have an East pair up to just call and go with this hand. On the right, that is a connected series of tiles, I think, question mark, question mark. Nice way of saying that hand is terrible.
I mean, there's
Across
three
the way,
pinch on.
yeah, it's like maybe I could force Jude shot out of it. Then you look at one of the shapes and it's the 1-2 so needing the 3 so door indicator. Ugh. Across the way, that's a much better hand, especially that 7 so draw. You can call the east. You have 2 door. You have great shapes everywhere. And on the left for Zalong, a pretty good hand there. You'd have that penchant likely to get rid of, but the rest of the hand is very good.
We could even see Kenyan draw into 567 Sanshoku here. I mean, you've already got 567 So and 567 Mon. You just need to draw next to that pin.
Well, I think if you get Tempa, you just take it.
Does discard the 5 Mon first. A bit of a Sakagiri there.
This is a really annoying draw for Nathaniel. It's like, yeah, I like the Riaba, but I also like Dora. Interesting. Cutting from the 5 figures we'll just lock the 4-4-4 shape in and kind of hedge everything else.
As
Ooh, that's
nice.
a very interesting draw there for Kenyon.
Yeah, the 4-4-5-6-6-7 shape. It can just become so many things. I mean, you can get a Peiko on the 5 so. You can expand the shape with the 3 so. You can turn one of those into your pair and maybe ditch the east for Tanya later if you need to. Especially with 4 so being Dora, that makes it a lot more interesting.
Might see a kind of desperation Chi here, hedging towards that Jun shot, because that hand is just so bad for Lucas.
Or I mean, Junchan or just Sanshoku. Yeah, is
Why
going
not
to
both?
Junchan Sanshoku. Porque no los dos?
Tempai across the way. There are a lot of choices. You take the Shampone. Oh,
Takes
wait, no, that
nothing.
is not Tempai. I misread that. I saw the 9 earlier and figured it fit in, but no, it doesn't.
Yeah, needs to draw into that 2-3 Mon shape rather than the 5-6-7.
Ooh, that's another interesting draw here.
Do
I
you
think
drop 2-3 Mon? Or no, drops
okay,
the
gets
double
rid of the
east.
East.
And when I say double east, I mean 2 of them. It's not a double Yaku for Kenyon. Kenyon is not dealer. We do have Ishan 10 for Nathaniel, though, who is our dealer.
It has that
Akutsuki
floating
Ishan 10.
Sodora.
What on earth does the long have? I have absolutely no clue.
I think 4-pin is the normal cut and go headless.
Is there a normal cut from that hand?
Yes.
Okay, 3-4-5, 4-5-6, 7-7-7. That's the shapes. With the extra 4 in there, it looked so much more complex.
Right. There's your
There's
Tempai.
Tempai. Discard a 7
Just
pin.
Ricci the 7. This is Ricci, Pinfu, Tanya, Dora, possible Sanshoku.
Sanshoku. Yeah, this is an incredible hand. Just hard to see.
No!
Oh, no, it drops the door.
That's
No, that
a
was a
complete
timeout.
misread of it. Must have been a timeout or a misread of the hand.
With that being Sumo Giri, I just don't see Zalong Sumo Gearing Dora. Like, that has to be a timeout. Oh, that's so tragic.
Ouch.
But that happens. This is one of the things about online play with a timer that you kind of have to learn to deal with, is that sometimes you do kind of stumble into these sorts of issues.
Well, you can chi that and take tempai. I don't think you have time anymore if you're kidding. You just wait on the 4.
Yeah, just take 10. Just take the no 10
Doesn't take it.
payments.
Wants the greed here.
I mean,
Makes you
shoot,
a little scared to throw the 3 so. And
we're
there's
gonna
our
we're gonna end up with the worst hand being the only hand tempai here.
I can't believe he got that to tempai.
This is actually tempai for Kenyan, discarding 3 mon. Yep, this is waiting. Oh no.
Yeah, that is Ishanten, I believe. Oh, dealer though. We'll have to throw a Dora, but I think you do it. This is a great hand. Oh, but the East is dead. Do you reach? You just waiting on the South? That's so disgusting. I love it.
I don't know if you
Eat.
reachy does.
Oh, I love how disgusting this hand is. This is perfect.
Oh my god. The Dora pawn from Kenya now tempai, waiting on 5 so 8 so.
The 8 is dead, I
2
think.
more.
Where's the 5?
There's 2 left in the wall.
Yeah, 2 5s.
Tsumo.
And there's one of them.
That's it. Tanyao Dora 3, 9,000 for Kenyan, and Kenyan just getting Mongon after Mongon in these games.
And Kenyon says, I'll take that Dora, thanks. I wasn't quite sure what to do with this hand, but that whole hand was set up by, unfortunately, that's a long timeout, losing the Dora and that monster Hanemon plus hand potentially. But dealer here is Lucas, has, you could call this, I definitely want to go Honitsu with this. Kind of keep you the 3-4 in case you draw a Dora, though. On the right, that is a Pinfu type hand. Possible upgrades to a 2-3-4 Sanshoku now. Across the way, there's some stuff there. 3 pairs. The shapes are hard to use for everything. And on the left, maybe you just go Mon, Honitsu, or Chinitsu. The rest of the shapes are pretty decent floaters. Could pull Itsu out of it in Mon, but I think I want to agree with a hand like that.
It does turn out that Navitas does go Honitsu with this hand. I have a question for you, Korak, because you call a lot of hands Pinfu hands, and I really want to know how many Kanchans have to be in a hand for you to not consider it a Pinfu hand.
6. The thing about most Kanchans is if you have like a 3-5, you're not expecting to fill with the 4. You're expecting more often to draw a 2 or a 6 and turn it into Ryanman. You usually have a long time to make a decision.
I mean, you're just as likely to draw a 1 or a 7, though, and turn it into a Ryankan, which I guess Ryankan can still go into Pinfu as long as you only have 1 of them. That is a very good draw for Nathaniel on the left, though. I do believe that is Ishanten.
For Kenyan for potentially Riichi Sanshoku.
Looking for the 2-3-4 there, I see. Yeah, not going to take the West.
Another Dora on the left. That is
hard to integrate.
Yeah, that's actually a really awkward draw. I'm just going to hold off on the decision right now.
Yeah,
you draw the 6 mod, you start drooling.
You can kind of consider that instead of the 2-3-3 shape, you can now consider it a 3-3-5 shape. And then the other 5 is a part of the 5-6-7. So if you draw a 4-mon.
Well, now you don't have a pair.
But but headless Ishanten is usually pretty alright. I mean, this is so wide. Oh, we got the North.
Oh my goodness, look at Nathaniel's hand now.
All of a sudden, Nathaniel with 4 Dora and 2 5-mon. Oh, Nathaniel wants a pair so bad now.
And Lucas's hand is getting there now.
Yeah, Lucas now with a pretty nice Ishanten.
And Kenyon getting scared off. Doesn't want to throw the 7-pin into this.
There's your for Nathaniel. 609 so.
This is a cheat. You cut the 1 and you pray someone throws the 2 to you.
Oh, and now it's a race. There's 5 2-pin, 5-pin left in the wall. There are 6 609 so left in the wall. 1 is a dealer 3-han hand. 1
with
is
a lot of foo.
1 is Nathaniel over here with Riichi Pinfu Dora 4.
would be Hanemon minimum. Dealer here would be 7,700 on a Roan, 96 on a Sumo. The extra 2 fu from the Sumo would push over the threshold.
Well, all the 5-pin
There's the
coming is.
Sumo!
There's the Sumo for Nathaniel!
Riichi Sumo, Pin Fu, Dora 4,
And
one
they're
Dora,
makes
Baimon.
on. Nathaniel just absolutely getting exactly what he needs here. 41K is incredible for Nathaniel.
And I've actually spoken to Nathaniel a bit about this type of thing, and he just gets what he needs in session 6. This has been a repeating theme and definitely delivering it here. But we're in East 3, and that's definitely a Tanya hand here for dealer. Questions can get the Peiko with the 3-4-4 with the 3-3-4-4-5-5 so potential in so, and just calls, probably make it as quickly as possible. On the right, that is a Pinfu shape, potential 3-sided weight with a 6-7-7-7. Distant Sanjiku, but unlikely. Also one Dora. Across the way, I'm not quite sure what you're going to do with that hand. Everything's kind of floater-ish, but the dealer is by far the fastest hand here. And on the left, that is a Honitsu, but a long way off compared to the dealer, who's going to be very happy to just win one Han if this comes.
Yeah, and with that Honitsu being so far off, I feel like Lucas was probably a little bit more willing to go for it, given that it was in the Dora suit.
And Kenny's going to go ahead and keep the Hatsu as a safe dot. Doesn't want the 2-pin floating around.
There's
your
Senpai.
Senpai, 2-sided with the 6-7.
And immediately gets it from Zalong.
Well, Zalong got the 4-5-7. Yeah, well, you don't feel that bad at 1,500. The problem with these big sumos.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's like, even when you're only dealing into 1,500, and you know it's not your fault, like, it's an open hand, first row, like, you can't really do anything about it. It just chips away at you. It takes so much mental fortitude to fight that. And we've seen Zalong has that mental fortitude in past seasons. It's just so much to have to put up with.
You know, Kenyon's dealer again here, East 3-1. You have the Penchon, but this is still probably a Pinfu type hand. Ooh, cuts the Penchon from the start. I wonder why all the honors are being kept. Is this a brute force Honitsu? We'll see. On the right, that is definitely a Pinfu type hand, especially when pulling that 6-pin or 8-mon. Across the way, you have a few pairs as a 6-7-8 Sanjiku would be the plan for value. Also Tanyao. But 9's actually a really bad draw. It makes the hand really cheap. And on the left, potentially Peiko in pin, potential upgrades to Itsu, and there is a distant 6-7-8 Sanjiku, but that's not how I'd expect the hand to develop.
And we do see Kenyon cutting the Dora Soba, perhaps is hedging that Honitsu that you mentioned. Cuts the Hatsu, though, before cutting the 5-6 pin. Has 4 pairs in hand, so could be thinking Tushanten Chitoi. We'll see how she grows this.
Ooh,
well, there's another Mon.
Very interesting draw. Okay, just going to plan to call probably the Haku would be done with it, get the 1 Han again.
The 7-pin Tenpai across the way for Nathaniel, though. Nathaniel dominating wants something better. He's really thinking about the Riichi here.
Well, desperately wants that 6-mon, because that turns it into Riichi, Tanyao, Sanshoku. So you're talking a 1 Han versus a Mongon Roan. Ooh, could pawn this and cut the 5-6 if you want to go for that Honitsu, but Kenyon passes. And that 2-pin very likely ends up being the pair in this hand. I think he cut 7 so here. Could brute force it towards a Tanyao, but it's so far off considering you have to cut that Penchon.
And you can almost feel Nathaniel's despair with every single draw. Like, is this an upgrade? No.
Speaking of despair, look at Kenyon's dead Daisangen.
2 Hatsu and 2 Chun in the discards here.
Meanwhile, Zalong just sitting here waiting for an upgrade. And there's a Dora. The problem is going to be hard to use. Have Ernie cut that 5 so.
Just
Just
cuts the
throws the Dora
Dora.
back.
I mean, you see so many Sumagiri from Nathaniel and Kenyon. Like, it's possible that they're Dama, but you have to wonder what on.
Well, it feels like they're both stuck in Ishanten hell. Because when you look at their discards, they're all so tiles until now that
Yeet.
8-10.
Now we have the Ricci from Lucas.
Ricci,
This is
Pinfu, Tanyao.
5 so, 8 so.
And there are 4 of those out. And...
Just 3 now.
Ooh, does
2.
it get pushed?
Only
Do we
2
see
left.
a chase? Nope, just going to fold, and that is the correct decision.
There's 1 5 so and 1 8 so left in the wall for Lucas.
Well, there's your 8 so. Like, you have to cheat that. The Haku does not feel like a good push, but I'd take it. And that's going to be the play.
And that is Tempai. 5 mon, 8 mon.
5 mon that just came out. Gimbutsu on both sides.
There are 3 left in the wall. But the 8 so is going to come out first.
Nathaniel does try to push this and deals in Ricci, Pinfu, Tanya. No Oradora, though. We have a fight for first and a fight for third right now. Zalong is dealer here.
Both races very tight.
And this is a Pinfu hand, maybe a 4 physics Sunshku, maybe an Itsu, maybe just a Ricci in here. Lots of things that can move this hand in different directions. On the right, we have the East pair, and the rest of the shapes aren't great. That may just be a call and go hand. You have that Penchant to get rid of. The floater kind of but I think the hand's definitely worth at least calling and being done with. Across the way, floating Dora, potential 3-4-5 Sanshku, pretty good hand. You feel bad about the 2-4-5-7, but you may end up just cutting the 2 and the 7. On the left, we now see the Pei has been called, also has a Dora in that hand. Probably just playing for the 2-Han.
Yeah, wants to get out of this quick, I'm sure. Zalong's hand is shaping up. It is drawing nice middle tiles to make this an interesting hand to develop. Although, as soon as I say that, draws two useless honors.
Well, not useless to Nathaniel, who will take that gladly and move this hand to Ishanten.
And this is where that 4, 5, 6, 7 Mon shape is so nice. You draw anything near that in Mansu, you can ditch the 1-2 pin and have such a better situation.
Even if you draw like the 8 Mon, there's a pretty. If you draw the 4-7 so rather, if you draw the 4-7, there's an argument for just cutting the 1-2 pin.
There's the 3 Mon though.
Well, now you definitely got the 1-2.
Because now you
and
can
now you're like,
another
is
Dora.
there a way to go to Honitsu?
Ooh,
because I might
stretch.
even pull in the 1 Mon if it came out.
Wow, that's greedy. I can't see Nathaniel making that play. Not in this position. If Nathaniel was in last, I could see Nathaniel pushing for that. But given that Nathaniel has been working a lot to get a little bit pushier, to push better hands. But
well, we have Tempai on the left, and this 3-so may come right out. And
there it is.
Pay Dora 1 for 2,000. And we are now in South round. Dealer does have a South pair, a Yakuhai, a floating Dora. The rest of the hand isn't that great. You do have that 2-3-4 in Mon, which isn't that bad, but I guess from this angle, the hand's a little bit better. Still, you need to connect something to those floaters. Anytime you have the 1-4, you're like, yeah, let's drop the 1, except the whole 1 is Dora. On the right, that's a Pinfu type hand. You'd love the 5-6-7 Sanjika, but that's going to require a lot of shifting to get there. The hand's actually pretty bad, even though the shapes are very defined. Across the way, that is a Pinfu type hand. Possible upgrades to Tanya or even Ipeiko. I believe that's actually Ishanten. It is. It's perfect Ishanten.
It's perfect Ishanten, yeah. And now you've actually made a step towards Ipeiko.
Yeah, I cut the 5 here. The 5 is the normal one, but it does make the Tanya less likely. course, if you draw the 6, you get the Peiko and the Tanya, which is what you dream of, but we see all the 6s.
Well, and we see 3 9s are out as well.
And on the left, that's a pretty decent hand as well. Not too much value, though, unless you get a shift to the 5-6-7 Sanshku. And there goes the Dora, and there it goes.
And there's a 2-pin draw for Nathaniel. Might cut from the Mon shape here, or cut one of the pairs.
I like cutting 4-pin.
That would give you a Nobiton shape at the bottom of the Pinzu. It's taking a lot of time on this. Cuts the 8-pin. There's Tenpai for Kenyan.
Across the way.
Eat.
Says, I'm not
Ricci
going to sit
Pinfu.
around and wait for this. I'll just take my Ricci, try and shut down second place's dealer turn.
2 Mon, 5 Mon. And we see that there are 5 of those left on the wall. 1 2 Mon and 4 5 Mon.
Terrible against that hand, but does get pushed. Nathaniel does draw the 4, can chase this down. Instead decides to Dama.
Tsumo.
They put the 2 Mon at Pot Sumo.
Just Sumo, Ricci, Apatsu, Sumo, Pinfu. No aura, but that's 6,200, 52 on the Ricci stick, and Nathaniel pays out the 2,600 as the dealer.
But avoids paying out 3,600 without calling that Ricci. It just seems like Kenyan can do no wrong at this point.
Now, Luke is a dealer here, and South 2 has a whole bunch of tiles in Mon. Question is, do you play this for the 79 Sanshku, or do you just sell out for the Chinitsu? Across the way, that is Kenyan, who has a potential 678 or 789 Sanshku now on the right. And decent shapes, not much value though, unless you get that Sanshku. And the problem is that 5-6-8, where like I really want the 7-8-9, it's just not there. Across the way, what do you think of Suanko?
I think Suanko is an incredibly ambitious dream here.
I mean, if it comes, it comes. If not, you may end up just back into Chitoy. Could also be Sananko. You do have that floating pay Dora, though you're not quite sure to do with. On the left, we have a Haku pair and a floating pay, so may end up going Dora Tonki eventually.
With
even
a
here,
shape,
making this decision, wanted to call that 9 so badly to just potentially go Dora Tonki. That's the type of call that I make. I do that. I cut the 2-pin, and then I go, are we going to go Honitsu later?
that 8-8-9-9 shape for Zalong is so tricky. I hate having that shape in my hand personally. It just, to make it into a normal hand, you have to draw the 7-pin twice. So then it kind of feels like you have to go for something like Sananko. And with a 9-pin already cut, it just seems like that's never going to happen.
No dealer currently Ishanten for potential Ricci, Pinfu, Ipeiko.
Harrison seems to be circling Nathaniel's discards. Legit, no idea. Perhaps just upset about the 2 3-so discards. Perhaps is a cult follower and is displeased with Nathaniel's heresy. I can't figure it out otherwise, if I'm being honest.
There is a Tenpai on the right. Does pull in the 3-so for Tenpai, but just waiting on that 7. Desperately wants to pull the 9-pin in to turn this into Sanshoku. Oh, well, now that hand across the way got very interesting.
Yeet.
And there's our Tenpai for dealer. The perfect draw. Ricci, Pinfu, possibly Peiko. Just one 1-mon and one 4-mon left, though.
Yeah, Korak didn't get a chance to explain why that hand across the way got interesting, but it was the pull of another Dora Pay. Actually discarded the pair of 9-pin.
Sananko even.
But is Ishanten still? Oh, and there's a 7-pin.
7 doesn't actually deal into anyone. It is that Tenpai on the right with no Yaku.
And that well, in some ways that helps your shape. Oh, and there's
there
Dora.
you go.
Well, you've got a
Now
Ricci
you're dead.
7-pin.
You have to because of the Furry 10.
So 4-pin, 8-pin are the winning tiles here for Zalong, and that's Dora 3. If you sumo, it's also Sun Anko, which would be a Hanuman.
And there's the 4
And there's the
Ipatsu!
4-pin! The Apatsu is also, that's Ricci Apatsu Dora 3. Any Ura? No Ura.
Doesn't get the aura, but does switch the positions, and at least is at a decent third place down. Lucas sinks a bit. Keenan, though, is the dealer in first place in South 3.
Let's see. I wanna see where's Lucas in these Lucas is right in the
Lucas
middle.
is plenty safe.
Right.
Lucas isn't really competing for the championship or demotion line at this point. But we look at
Yeah.
these hands. Kenyon has what looks like it's probably going to be a Ricci Nomi hand, maybe upgrade to the Peiko and lower So. He'd love to pull a Dora in as well. On the right, feels like an Itsu in So. Decent floaters elsewhere. I mean, distant 4-5-6 Sanshu. Across the way, we have the Haku pair and actually a Pei pair. You're kind of hedging towards Honitsu with a hand like that. Everything else is just ugly and disconnected. Kanchan, 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 and then a 1-4. Look at it go, thanks. On the left, there are a few ways to play that. You could go Honitsu. You could aim for the 7-8-9 Sanshiku. That is not going to be the play, though. Probably just going to play its direct efficiency, though. Kenyon's actually Ishanten as dealer here.
Home.
And yeah, Nathaniel says, I'm going Honitsu with this. I don't see how I'm getting value elsewhere. Ooh, that's a big upgrade for Kenyon. Allows a door acceptance and can cut one of these two blocks in Mon.
Does cut the pinch on first, which is pretty natural.
Yeah, I definitely like cutting the 1 there. But you're like, Nathaniel definitely needs montage. I'm going to get rid of this now. Even this 9, which could potentially connect to a Dora later, is going to feel safer. And that is not Tempai across the way. It's still Ishanten. Speaking of Ishanten, we have a round and rum in Ishanten if it's taken. So long as hedging the decision, do I want to go for Chinitsu? And the answer is no. Oh, and there's a Tanya upgrade. That's huge for Kin. You can just call this hand now.
Ditches the 9 so first. The 9 pin can come out later. It looks pretty safe against most people.
Yeah, it'd be really bad against Zolong, though.
The 8 pin looks a little bit better against Zolong. But you probably still cut it now. 9 pin later. Katagiri's it. What do you think about the Katagiri there? The cut from hand as opposed to from draw.
I don't think it matters much here. You're not giving up that much information. There's our Tempai across the way, waiting on the Penchon.
3 Mon, there are 2 left in the wall.
Really bad. I think
Yeah,
he cut the 9. Oh, wow, that is an aggressive push.
Just pushes it. Oh, and does the 6 Mon improve the weight here?
No,
it doesn't. Could you shift? You can't even really shift it with that.
No, it doesn't improve at all. If you wanted to shift, you want like 2 Mon. Then you'd have the potential upgrades. Oh, you could chi that, I think, but it's going to be interrupted.
Not if Kenyon pawns it. 4-so, 7-so, the wait now for Kenyon. Can win on Dora.
No, I guess they wouldn't have fit in that hand yet. It's all we always complain about this, but the tiles do look small to us.
There are 3 7-so left in the wall. No 4-so left for Kenyon. There's a 7-so.
That is a Dora. And Nathaniel says,
toss it.
Nope. And we can tell that would have dealt into the dealer here. There's our Tempai on the right. I mean, you need points. I think you just hit the button, and that's going to be the play here. Waiting on the 2-5. There's 1-5 and 2 2s.
Now that Monzu wait for Zolong. Ricci Tanyao. Ricci Pinfu Tanyao Dora 1.
And Kenny says, I don't have to play this. You could chi this cut 7 wait Dora Tonki.
Nathaniel really thinking about it.
Chi.
And does.
Oh, no, I don't like that one. I think you're going to make the call, you just go for it. Instead takes the wider Ishanten, potentially. Oh!
Oh man, would have
Well, in
won it.
fairness, Kenyon would have drawn that one, but
Oh, that's true. Well, but you could have called chi and just cut something else, and then you win on the
right.
7 so.
Oh yeah, you would have called. Yeah, if you call and wait on the door, Tonki, it would have come out.
Tsumo.
Yeah.
And there's
And
the
instead,
Tumon
there's
for
the
Zalong.
Tsumo.
Oh,
Richi,
this is.
Sumo, Pinfu, Tanya, Dora.
We're going to have to remember this hand.
No,
as
Aura.
This puts Zalong over Nathaniel.
In this game, anyway, currently in second place. Lucas
And this
kind
is
of
all
way
last.
back. Yeah, we are in all last. Never feels good to be all last dealer here. Has 3 pairs and honestly a pretty terrible hand. I almost just want to brute force Tanya out of this, which tells you what I think of it looking at these shapes, where the 4, 6, 6, 7 is probably your best. On the right, we have similarly a Tanya type hand with a floating Dora. Across the way, you see the East has been pawned. Probably going to brute force the Honitsu here, but Lucas just needs any type of points. On the left, we have the pay pair, so I imagine that's similarly call and go with 2 Dora. So you don't have to think very hard when that's the hand. And Zalong is now to Rian Shunten. This hand was looking really bad a few discards ago, but now there's a really good upgrade if you can draw that 5 so.
Chi.
Nathaniel's perfectly content to go for 2,000 value hand here. Currently E Shunten. Hatsu doesn't help. Hatsu doesn't help Lucas there either. We'll hold it, though, for potential upgrades later. On the left, though, that hand's getting pretty interesting for Kenyon. Could even turn them into Chanta if you get really creative. And Lucas goes in and takes the pawn. He's now Ishan 10. Would really like the 6 pin, though. There's the call on the left for Kenyon. And the 8 show doesn't really help Nathaniel. I imagine it comes right back out. You'd have the ability to chip a whole bunch more heads if you cut, say, the 7 so, but you've actually moved back in Shanten.
Ooh, there's the 4 pin for Zalong. Gives you a better pin shape.
And I think Nathaniel's hedging towards a different way, but Brothers just doesn't want to have anything to do with this hand. Similarly, Kenyon doesn't want to throw that Haku.
Zalong Ishanten now.
Ishanten on the right for Nathaniel as well. Oh, that's Tempai. I think you just hit the button.
Now waiting 3 pin, 6 pin.
Recitail, like, what are you doing?
Ooh.
I think you just fold if you're Nathaniel. Yeah, 4 so's unexpected.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for something better to come along. Wow,
Now, if you're
but
Lucas, you have a whole bunch of choices. Yeah, I like the Shaw there.
well, the Shaw's the only save tile. The Haku Shonpai, it's completely live, and all the pin tiles look horrible.
Well, just
and there's
trying to Tempai.
4 pin Haku Tempai for Nathaniel. Not
There
Nathaniel,
is
Lucas.
one Haku
Navitas.
left. Just one Haku left. For the 3 6, there are 2 3s and 3 6s, and there's that last Haku.
Wait, isn't there one 4 pin left? Where is it? What did one get called? I see 1, 2, 3. I can't find a 4th.
Oh, you're right. That is the 4 that you needed. So yeah, there is one 4 pin left. And there's the 6
pin.
But do you throw the 4 instead? Do you throw the 7 instead?
Well, if you toss the 4, you have a better weight. You're waiting on 5, 8 pin.
You can see the hesitation here.
Oh,
there goes the 6. And
That's
the
gonna
deal
put
is you go,
Zalong
oh
in.
no, oh it's Ricci. Ricci Ora doesn't feel great. That we'll get Zalong to first place though, but we do not have a Gariyame, so this game is not over.
And Zalong very much needs this first, but wow, it's so but God, this hand is so good. Two Hatsu, you've got a complete shape in Sozu. The pin shape isn't bad at all.
Interesting cutting the south. I don't really like the 9-mon, even with the door acceptance. I want to go Honitsu in a hand like this, but instead, probably just going to go fast with this. Calls the Hatsu, and is in a very good shapes altogether. On the right, wow, look at that hand. That's actually already Ishunten. Potential Sun Anko there. Across the way, few pairs, not much else.
Dora
Probably not going to
3,
finish.
which you didn't mention about
Yeah, I didn't
Daniel's
mention that
hand.
Dora 3 on the right. And on the left, just calls the Hawk who wants to be done with this, also has a Dora.
And now accepts it.
Two does not help that hand, so it will not be called. Oh my goodness, what about Suanko? You have to just go, don't you?
I mean, it's not like the 1-pin, 2-pin is all that much better than your 3 pairs here. Since, especially with those pairs, you could draw into a Ryanman shape.
That's going to get cheat, and I think that 5 comes out next turn, and Kenyon's going to deal in and shut this down.
There it is.
And there it is. And Nathaniel's going, no, that was my ticket out. But we have another South 4 that was a direct hit on second place. So Zalong gaining some points here, desperately needed. Has a very good starting in here. Potential Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao. Well, not Tanyao, but potential San should go up to the 3, 4, 5. Has a chewed pair now. Gonna have to try and decide what to do with this hand. I do like the 6 cut there. On the right, few pairs, not much else. Floating Dora feels kind of cheat toy, honestly. Unless you draw the 4-mon. Across the way, Itsu and Mon, maybe a Pinfu hand, especially if you can pull the. Oh, wait, never mind. It's not Pinfu. You have a West Bear. You could call it, but do you even want to? Answer is, I guess. And on the left, that is a nice little 6, 7, 8 Sanshku building. They have a Dora in here as well.
The issue with only 2 Homba on the table, a Mangon Tsumo for Lucas would just be 2,200 away from Nathaniel.
Yeah,
so
but it
Nathaniel
would
still be
knock-
30K.
Yeah, Nathaniel would be even 30K.
Which is still counted as 3 above, 1 under.
Two, and I think Zalong has to take this because I don't see what you're doing with this hand otherwise. The shapes are terrible. They look so much better than they actually are. Keeps the potential Ryonkon in pin and keeps the door acceptance. And yeah, that hand on the right, I said it felt like cheat toy, and it's definitely working that way. Ishunten on the left. I think Dora may come out here.
And it did come out of Kenyon's hand.
Tempai across the way on that Dora. Potential 3, 4, 5 Sanshigu developing here. If you draw the 3 or the 5.
Oh, and there's a direct hit off Nathaniel.
And with the home, but that knocks under 30K. That's actually huge.
That is exactly what Lucas needed, and exactly what Nathaniel did not need. That is a massive win for Zalong after taking that very unfortunate first. The plus 26.9 getting Zalong back to a much safer spot in the standings. Obviously still on the borderline, but being able to scrape that first away after the fourth in the first Hanchan is definitely going to put Zalong in a better position to fight from.
Yeah, and Zalong at least mitigates a bunch of the damage from that first game. All right, I think we're going to go the B2 game, but in the meantime, let's see. We have not gotten a result from the other B3. There should be one last game that's currently going on. So this is William, who is Kujira. Nano is Rowan. The one DM is Chris, and the kanji there is I.
All right, and they already have played one game so far. In that game, I got first with plus 33. William got second with plus 12.8. Rowan got third with plus zero point 0.8. And Chris was the only person below 30K and got a last at negative 46.6, which had a pretty profound effect on the standings, I believe, because I was right along that promotion line. And with that big win, put I in a bit of a safer position, third in B2. William, on the other hand, was right along the demotion line, is now sitting at minus 127.3. So things are very, very tight at the demotion line for B2 here. Rowan is a fill-in, so is not really connected to the standings as a whole. Whereas Chris is also on that same demotion line. Chris and William actually exactly 3 points away from each other at negative
Yeah, they're both
124.3.
sitting at that demotion line right now. So trying to get out. Of course, we can see that there are a bunch of people here because B2 has a bunch of people. They have 24. You can see there's some others that are lower, but it's getting cut off by the graphic here. We have Roxy at 19th, Chris in 20th, William in 21st, Brett in 22nd, Cruz in 23rd, and Nick in 24th. No, and apparently Rowan is a substitute. Nick had a work emergency come up.
We actually have 2 full minutes before this game starts, so I'm going to step away for a quick second to get a drink. My throat getting a little bit dry from all the shouting. I'll be right back, though.
He's currently actually in South 4, so they're going on, and I can see there's no specific indication that the 5-minute delay has done anything. Usually those games come right in, so they're going to be in there for a while. All right, and we're off. This is William. Oh my goodness, look at that starting
Wow.
hand.
What a hand to open. Double East, like something that could be a clear Honitsu, but with a 3-4 pin and already having the East in hand, you could just
We're
take this
about to
as fast as they can
see, and
go.
yeah, it says I want Honitsu. I want the guaranteed manga in here. Never mind, may just be going for the closed East here.
Yeah, I mean, could still hedge it. Like, you still have options with
Right.
the Haku cut.
I think I definitely cut the 3-4 pin though. On the right, we have a decent hand looking for just probably a Ricci Pinfu. Hard to get a Sunchiku upgrade there. You can't accept a Dora, and that's going to be the plan. But speaking of Dora, we have two of them across the way and a whole bunch of pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5
5. Yeah, that's actually already Ishan-ten, so you don't have to think too hard about that hand.
for
And on the
Tanyao
left,
Chitoy.
Tanya Chitoi Dora 2. And on the left, well, that is a combination of tiles that do not fit together at all.
Yeah, when the other hands look so nice, that's a really unfortunate hand to be holding.
And even though Williams started with this amazing hand, has just not budged at all. And now draws a Dora. Yeah, I definitely think you cut the 3-so there. You're kind of questioning what your pair is going to be, though. But if you connect with a 6 or 8, you could end up just using the 7-so as your pair.
Ooh, that Tumon draw. Chris doesn't necessarily have to go Chitoy here. You could just go Tanya Dora 2, or 3 for that matter. Well, and now I, with 2 Yakuhai pairs, can also open pretty much anything.
Interesting draw there with the 9. So do you cut the 3-4? Do you cut the Dora? You're going to need a pair at some point. I think I got the 3-4. That's going to be the play here. Meanwhile, on the right, despite that ridiculous pawn that looks like it's going for Kokushi, is actually Ishan, or was Ishan-ten for Richie Ibeko.
What do you think they're going for now? What's Rowan pushing for? Is cutting the entire
Has
one
to be
two three
toy.
shape?
It's just toy. I think the hand would have been better off just close, building it directly, but instead sees toy and hits the bone button. And ooh, we have Dorotonki now for dealer for Mongon.
Incredible. Only one of those left on the wall.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're ever coming out across the way.
Oh, Chris actually could have palmed that.
Oh, Tempai.
Yeet.
Which weight will you take?
Oh,
The
immediately
Ricci
takes
and
the
is waiting on
Ricci.
Tumon. Tumon is dead. The
And by
problem is this
dead,
may end up shutting down William completely, because I don't think you can throw the Dora into that, even if you get a huge shape upgrade. Oh, and that 8 feels almost as bad. Do you cut the 8-9 so maybe?
cut east?
Well, you don't have a Yaku then. Just pushing. I don't mind this either.
Oh, there's another
Oh.
8-mon.
There's the Dora we talked about. So this is dead weight versus dead weight, unless someone changes or we see a very aggressive push on the right.
Ooh. Just a shift. Discards 9-so for now.
Tempai on the left could just Ricci here, and that's going to be the play.
2-mon, 5-mon.
Oh, wow. Look at that shape. 7 is suited, so you figure it's going to be okay here. This is the 2-5. We know the 2's dead. How's the 5? There is 1 left.
And there's another tune in the Eye's hand, though, of course, Enrichi just automatically comes out.
This is a 0 versus 1 situation. We may see him all be at the dead wall. Oh, that 8-pin feels bad against the second Ricci, but you have to push it here.
Chi.
You see the Chi here to try and change the direction, but we get 3 players, Tempai.
Yeah, when so many tiles are dead, that's a pretty natural result. So we'll just go into East 1-1 here.
William is a very nice hand here. This is Ren Shuntem, but a pretty good one. Can also accept Dora, potential 5-6-7 Sanjiku. On the right, that is probably a Tanya. You have all the extra floaters, but they don't feel that good. Now you have a Dora, so I think you just go Tanya with that. Across the way, that is definitely a Pinfu hand. Potentially Peiko upgrades in Pin. On the left, you're kind of hedging. Do I want to go Itsu? Do I want to go Chinitsu? And the answer is now you fill it in that 6-7-8 Mon. I think you should go Itsu if you possibly can.
Another 7-pin. Might just get Ipeco there.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. We'll be looking for a pair, though. See, I'm
William
cutting the penchant here. Doesn't want the overlap. I don't think the one so does much for this hand, though. But I guess you'd draw the two. Well, okay, now it does.
just paired up. That hand actually has 4 pairs now. Although I can't imagine a 5th
You
pair you
could
draw
call
that
this
make you
and
go
cut one
Chi
so one
Toy.
so.
Ooh, go Tanyao.
I would probably do that because I just don't like the shapes in this hand.
All right, the 5-pin coming
Oh
out of
my
I's hand.
goodness, look at that. Another perfect draw into this for potentially Ricci, Pinfu, Dora.
Ricci Pin Fudora and Sanshoku still very much an option here, according to how you get to Tenpai.
Yeah, going to require some shifting, though. It can't be a 5, 6, 7 yet. We have to shift it to the 4, 5, 6. On the right, though, we have the South. This definitely feels like a hand where you're trying to brute force the toy, but it's not coming together quite yet. Oh, and there's the 5 discard. It comes back to backfire. The 9 doesn't really fit in here, and you potentially add more for a 10, but we'll go ahead and keep it, hoping to go for the Itsu here with the 6-9 weight. And backfire immediately.
It so often seems to occur that way. Still the 3-pin, 6-pin can be accepted into I's hand. If you get the 6-pin, you have the Nobuton weight for the Itsu.
Well, perfect draw there for dealer. Ricci, pin Fudora 1 on 4, 7-pin. There is 1 4-pin left, and that's it.
Home.
You see the pawn, the 5 is a safe tile at this
Ooh.
point.
Chris discarding a 1-mon after drawing another 4-pin. So now all of dealer's weights are out.
Now we'll have an announcement after this hand. We do know what has happened in
Another
B3.
3-pin.
Yeah, you just hit the button, wait on the 2. The problem is there's only 1 left in the whole wall.
But I mean that turns out is better than the 4-pin, 7-pin weight somehow.
There's a 4, 7 so weight on the right now.
I mean,
And
no one
there's
can
the
use
Itsu on the
Kumon.
left.
Oh,
But
it
it doesn't
is
matter. That's the
also.
deal in. That is South Patsu 2,600. And all those Ricci sticks did a 6,900 score there into first place. Nice hand there for Rowan. And as I said before, there's a nice little interruption here. B3 is now done. First through sixth will automatically promote into B2. Seventh and eighth will play in the B2 B3 playoff. Top person promotes into B2, and that'll be Quinn and Emily, Blaine and Garth. Oh, Blaine and Garth, that sounds like a fun match. 9 to 15 will stay in B3. 16 and 17 will play in the B3/C1 playoff. The top 2 will stay in B3. Quincy and Jen, Zach and Leslie. So both of our GPML pros will be in playoffs, but in different ones. And 18 to 20 places will be moving to C1. Now you get a chance after this match. We'll go swing over to B3 and get the full standings. But for now, we have a game here. Rowan has a Hatsu pair, decent shapes, actually already Rian Shunten. On the right, we have a bunch of pairs, odd numbered tiles. Kind of hard to use all that 5, 5, 7, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. Across the way, maybe 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, but kind of hedging towards something else. I just don't know what that something is. On the left, maybe an Itsu in Mon seems like the plan. Actually, Ishanten for it.
Yeah, guaranteed bad weight for it though for William. And not a single Dora East has been drawn yet. Oh, I guess one has been discarded by Chris on the right. It was Chris's first discard. No respect for Dora here. We don't need it.
Could have cheated that for Tempai, but wants more than the one Han here. And dealer draws a door, and I actually like just cutting the 3-pin here and planning to go Dora Tonki at the end of this. And yeah, that seems to be the play.
It's not like that 3-pin's really going to help you in any other way. I mean, you might discard the 1/3 Mon, but since you need a pair anyway, you imagine it's going to get cut regardless.
Right, and there's no reason to lock it in when you have this beautiful opportunity to pair up a Dora. Maybe even make a Yakuai out of it, depending on what else happens. Well, I definitely cut the 1/3 here. It is much more restrictive Ishunten, but a lot more valuable. And I definitely like the greed.
And it's not entirely impossible to see this stretching into a Chanta. Just draw
Would
one
take
pin,
a little
draw
bit
9
of
Mon.
maneuvering, but yes, you could. Oh, 8, so it's a nice fill-in. You cut the 1/3 so and give yourself a much better chance to upgrade the weight, and that's going to be the play.
Looks like it. We have Ishanten across the way for I as well. Ooh, and that's Tempai.
Tempai across the way, it'd be Richie Nomi just on the random 4-pin. No, getting greedy. Wants the Itsu. That's a Tempai. You definitely cheat this. Cut the tune. Wait on the Dora.
2 of those left in the wall for Rowan here.
I mean, it may come out from any. Well, there's your Tempai. I think you have to take this one.
Yeah, taking the Ontonsu.
1, 4,
oh,
6.
This is Furitin. 1, 3, 6.
Oh, 1,
right?
3, 6. You're right.
And that one doesn't deal it in because of the Furitin.
Come.
And there's the
for flow. And I mean, if you knew this was Furitin, that's absolutely the right play.
And it was the East. Immediately grabs it.
And gets 7,700 and the Ricci stick. Huge win there for Rowan. And doesn't get a particularly great hand afterwards. This could turn into a Tanya. You do have a floating Dora. On the right, we have an East pair. Could even go Honitsu with this. Across the way, possible Honitsu in so, but I think just play it normally for now. And on the left, a few pairs. There are a lot of different ways to play it. You could even think about the 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku now. So what do you think is the best hand here?
Oh boy, out of all of these, I mean, at least Chris can speed things up by calling.
Yeah, that was my thought. Is Chris, well, especially now it's
that 3-so draw.
Forget this. Now it's just Chris. You fill in that 3-so, this hand looked a lot better. Potential 2-3 Sanchoku looking viable now.
Home.
And dealer just calls, probably trying to brute force Tanya. That's a very Korak style call. I don't think you'd probably do as much.
Never.
I look at a hand like this and I go, what the heck do I do with it? I don't know. Let's go.
In a million years, I would never have called that 8-pin. If I'd had the other Hatsu, maybe. But without it, never. And now you're kind of sitting on the Atazuke. Luckily, William has that other Hatsu in hand. We'll probably have to drop it at some point. Unless William ends up well, not Hadaka. Just ends up Tonki waiting on the Hatsu.
Interesting cutting the 8-so there. You do have a better shape to accept the 7-so in addition to the 8. I mean, this may end up being Dorotonki too. I can absolutely see a situation that's end up Dorotonki.
We got Ricci on the right.
Ricci. This is a Ricci possible Itsu 369 weight.
Very nice. I mean, so much of that is left in the wall. Still 8 tiles left in the wall.
Across the way, I think.
Ricci.
And a chase. It's Ricci Nomi just on the 7-so though.
So 4 7-so versus 8 of the 3, 6, and 9 Mon left for Chris.
Well, that's an easy pull, and I think you just push the 4 Mon. Instead pushes the 7. Trust the 2 chance of the 2 5s.
There's
Oh,
Tenpai.
well, now we're about to see which one. Could even
Well,
cut the 9 so, but their deal's the 6. Riichi no me.
The 9 so is safe.
9 so was safe. Could have waited on the Gimbutsu 5, but wasn't given to the first. Riichi deals in, but it's cheap. Doesn't matter that much. Now I have a new dealer here. And this is Chris, who, by the way, has already called and is dreaming of Sanshku Doko. Would love 2 more Dora here, but
Get all
most
the
likely it's
fours.
Tanya Dora 1. On the right, that is a cheat toy hand, or at least it feels like. It could also turn into an Ipeiko. Across the way, that is a Honitsu/Chinitsu type hand. A few pairs in pin, 3 of them. The rest of the hand isn't that good. And on the left, we have a Haku pair and some clear shapes, but it's going to be hard to get it together. Oh, well, interesting choice now. And we see Chris goes and cuts the 5-mon, doesn't like it. This is still Ishan 10. Could even open up for Itsu. That's definitely not the Yaku I had in mind.
It's such a wide Ishan 10, too. And we now see William full force ahead for the Honitsu there. That chi wouldn't
Well, there's
help
your
Chris.
Tenpai.
8 so 4 pin.
And 2 Dora. I think you have to pull in the Shaw, don't you, if you're William? I guess you're selling out on Chi-Toy.
Oh, Chris. Is Chris going to greed for more value here? Try and bump this up to a Mangon? Oh, no, can't. The 4-mon's already been...
I don't know why you'd mess around with that. The 6, I mean, you can take the Toy later, but for now, eh.
I'm so used to the 1 calls. Oh, there's
Just
a Tsumo.
Tsumo.
I thought that 4-mon was like a Hatsu or something.
Nope. But 6,000 points is a nice little win there. Chris will at least cut the lead significantly. Get another dealer turn here and is rewarded with a mediocre at best hand. You can see the shapes here. You'd love to pull a Dora in. It's probably a Pinfu. There are possible times it'd be really hard to do. On the right, that is a Pinfu type hand. You have a floating Dora, a bunch of other floaters. The problem is that 7-9 needs to get filled. Across the way, we see the pay has been pulled, but the idea is to call the Hatsu. And you also have 1 Dora. Potential 4, 5, 6 Sanshku, but unlikely. And on the left, there goes the pawn of the East. And it's kind of hard to get any other value, like very, very distant Toy, but that looks like just a call and go.
Yeah, and it's interesting, William taking that North Pawn actually kind of shuts off the 4, 5, 6 Sanshoku possibilities, because that would be all of your other melds. You just have the 3, 4, 5, 6s, and then a pair, and that pair would be the Hatsu, so it would really, really limit your hand. So, I mean, we might see William push Honitsu here even, but that would require ditching Dora.
Now. That's the problem. Is the Dora is worth half as much as the Honitsu itself. The issue is if you start to suspect that the Hatsu is pair locked, it does give you another way to the hand. In the meantime, though, we have Ishan 10 on the left for Rowan. Dealer now getting closer, but you still have 3 pairs.
Gee.
I think the efficient cut there is actually the 8, so the 3 can connect to a bunch of stuff. But you do give up the potential upgrades to a 6, 7, 8 Sanshku if you play it that way.
So a couple of Ishan 10s now, with William drawing the 3 pin. That's Tenpai.
But no,
But it's just not winnable, yeah. Does take it, though.
Well, that's a nice pull in by Rowan there on the left. Sure, you've called the 2, but you don't really want the 2. You want the 5. There's the Tenpai across the way. Which weight is going to be taken? It will be the Nobetan 5-8.
And a lot of those 5-8s in Chris's hand, the dealer here. Only 3 of those left in the wall. And there's
Tenpai
one of them.
on the left, 2 5-pin. There is 1 2 and 2 5s. So not that great a weight. Tenpai on the right, just waiting on the south.
So none of the 8-so are going to come out because they're all stuck in hands. There's 1 5-so left in the wall.
Well, just Tsumo the Dora. It's 2,300 and controls first, going at East 4. Dealer here is going to be I, and you look at this hand, you go, I think it's probably Junchan. Kind of hard to use almost everything here. Could be more regular, but I think I want more value. I think the value is in Junchan Sunscrew Dora 1. On the right, we have a Hatsu pair, and yeah, and that 6 mod is definitely, I'm going for Junchan. On the right, we have the Hatsu pair and a 9-so pair, decent floaters, but that's probably a call and go. Across the way of an East pair, and there it goes, and there it gets called. So now headless Ishan 10, but could go Nobitan 1-4 if the 3-6 is drawn. Also has a door in the hand, and on the left, has a Pinfu hand, but significantly slower than everything else here. Tempai across the way, just cut the 1-so.
3 mod, 6 mod. Of which
Cuts
there are
the 4
5
instead.
left.
It's still Tempai.
Oh,
and I think the 3 comes out next turn. Obviously, the 5 will be first because it cannot fit into this hand if the plan is Junchan. The 3 is actually pretty terrible, though, because you have that 1-mon pull, and you would need the last one to be able to integrate into the hand in any way.
Yeah, it will be an absolute miracle if I
There it goes.
There it is.
And Rowan just keeps winning these cheap hands. Had one big one, but just keeps shutting down everyone else at the table, and that is certainly one way to do it. Now we are in South round. William has the South pair and 2 Dora, so this is very much a call and go situation.
Oh, but we have 3 Haku on the left for I, so it's going to be very hard to race I to the finish here.
On the right, potential Itsu and Mon, but the rest shapes aren't great. Interesting, cuts the 5-pin right away. Probably hedging a bit towards Shinitsu. I think the shapes are terrible, which they are. Across the way, we have a few pairs, but most likely just call the West. Take your Dora 1 Shaw and move into South 2. On the left, though, we have the other big hand potentially. Honitsu Haku already, potential Itsu later, and plenty of other ways to upgrade the value there.
Especially considering
you absolutely call that 4. That is a perfect. I think that is a mistake. That should be called.
Yeah, it would have been a very nice Atazuke Ishanten there for Chris.
Right, and unless you're going to go with 4, 5, 6 sunscreen, use the South as a pair, you always call that 4.
Now, if the 4-mon in hand, do you just say 8-pin? Looks like Chris does.
Now, we actually know that the 5s are completely dead. Now, admittedly, 1 will likely come out from Chris, but not for a while yet. Oh, and 2-so fits in very nicely. Oh, and that 3 gives potential flurry 10s, so it just goes right back out. Kind of wondering where that West is, because the plan here was obviously just call it and be done with his hand. But that requires it coming out. Ooh, and another Dora. I think you just cut the 4, 5. Oh,
yeah,
instead cuts the Shaw. Okay,
well,
so
I mean,
I'm done with this.
With 1 Shaw already cut, it's just so easy for that other Shaw to be late in the wall. I mean...
Yeah, well, also you figure there's a good chance I has a pair. Because that is starting to look very Honitsu.
With all those Monzu cuts, and then the
and see, by not calling that 4-pin earlier, this should be Tempai waiting on 3-6. But instead, this hand is a Shanten back, and it's very hard to get either of these. The 6s are never, ever coming out.
If you were Tempai waiting on 3-6, you would have no Yaku.
Well, you would have had to
ditch for... Wait, are you talking about Chris or William?
William.
Okay. You were talking about calling the 4-mon.
No, the 4-pin that was the 4th discard from Rowan.
How
just
were there 2 in William's hand? Were there 2 in William's hand, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have the Ricci from Rowan's hand. Waiting on this would
be Flurry 10, so may just have to push this 5. Yeah, just waiting on the 7 mon would be Richinomi.
When you had mentioned the 4-pin discard earlier, it was also possible that Chris could cheat it. So I had assumed you were talking about Chris. It wasn't clear to me which
No.
player you were talking about.
Well, Chris has that 9 stuck in the hand, so it's not budging. And that is Tempai.
Each.
You definitely not Riichi the Dora. There goes the
Riichi.
3. This is Riichi Pin Fudora too. And there's our Riichi Honitsu. Haku. Potential Itsu on the 9.
Everyone at the table's Tenpai now.
And we have
Tsumo.
3 very...
Ipatsu!
Ipatsu! Riichi, Ipatsu, Sumo, Haku, Honitsu.
And
The Aura and I comes back from nowhere and is now back over 30K and pretty close to first.
in second. Chris also right there in the hunt. William, the only one left stranded in below 30K here.
And Rowan is dealer here in South 2 has the South pair and a Dora. May just be a call on go. We'll see. Across the way, that is Brian, and sitting with kind of disconnected everything. Sorry, not Brian, Chris. With disconnected everything, I was looking at the hand. I got distracted with how bad it was. On the left, we have a Hatsu pair and kind of floating everything. You kind of want to push that for Honitsu. Interesting cutting the 9 mon. I don't like that from I think you just throw the 9 so and hedge towards that Honitsu. On the left, that is a Pinfu hand. Potential upgrades to maybe a 5, 6, 7 Sanchiku, but it's a long way off for everything. Dealer's currently Ishan 10, but if you call the South, it's still Ishan 10. Would be much more flexible, though. No, now you just cut the tune, because now you can call the South and just cut the 2 later. Takes some time to think about it, but makes the right decision at the end. There's the pawn, and okay.
Ishanten now for I.
Unless you go Honitsu.
Unless you go Honitsu, of course.
Well,
but
never
now
mind.
you won't.
Now it's a 2, 3, 5, 6, I think.
Yeah, very nice 4-sided weight there for I. Six tiles left in the wall, if anybody's counting.
And that is not one of them. Well, there's your Tempai for dealer. The 7 mon did just come out. But yeah, I don't see a reason not to just hit the button here. Riichi Dora 1 for dealer, usually a very strong hand. You just don't expect to run into a hand like that very often.
Four-so and seven-so both look so bad with that three-so
Especially with
Riichi
that
call.
3 at the very end, but you don't have a choice. You just go.
I mean, you can discard the 1 mon.
Suji. You could, but what are you going to do with this hand at that point? And that's why you get the Dora. That's the expensive end. And it's actually, because it's Dora and you get extra food because that makes the 1 mon now an Anko. So it's a 5,200 direct and the Riichi stick. Now let's put I in first place, moving to South 3. All right, we have dealer here with a chewed pair. Decent shape in pin, looking to Eddie Peiko. The rest of the shapes are okay. Not a bad hand, but not particularly valuable. On the right, east pair, north pair. Whole lot of outside tiles. Could go Chitoi, could go Toy Toy. There's a distant Chanta, but I don't really like it. What about Sho Sushi? I think that sounds a lot more fun.
I mean, Sho Sushi's always the right answer.
All right, across the way, that is a Pinfu hand. Not much value. Could accept a Dora, though. That would be your fix. Potential 4, 5, 6 Sanchiku as well, but unlikely because that 4 pin would more likely connect to the 2, 3. On the left, that is a Pinfu type hand. But similarly, your value is likely to come from kind of an awkward 3, 4, 5 Sanchiku shift. Okay, and I is just going Honitsu. Maybe even Honitsu Chanta with this hand.
With Chris being so willing to call pawn, it'll be interesting to see if Rowan's turn gets skipped enough times to hinder him from building his hand. That was a good draw there with the Hatsu.
Speaking of good draws, look what that 3 does to this hand.
What do you discard here?
I cut the 1-2. Specifically the 1 first, because then you can pull in the 5 and cut the 4 anyway.
Yeah, this does leave you perfect Ishanten. The 5/6 is your Ryanman, the 4/5/5
Doesn't matter,
is a
you
receive
cheat, you're
pair.
Tempai.
There you go.
You just cut the 2. Like, the 3/6 is a terrible weight, but do you really want the Shampoo? If you're a real believer in Sanso, then maybe that'd be about it. Ishanten across the way now.
Oh, it deals
never
in!
mind. It's a little greedy and throws the 3. Look for a little more value with that Ipeco. The normal cut there is the 5 so, but instead deals in. All right, another dealer here. As Chris has me 79 Sanchiku, seems like the best value in this hand, and actually pretty close to it. Needs the 8 in all 3 suits, though. Never ideal. On the right, Pinfu type hand, maybe an Itsu in pin across the way. Feels like 1, 2, 3 Sanchiku, probably Junchan. And on the left, I honestly don't know.
I mean, you've
Cuts
got
the 5 so almost is just hedging Kokushi with that discard.
I mean, it's just such like you look at that hand and you've got so many garbage terminals and honors, and you've got this pair of Hatsu that you can actually use. Oh my god, and there's the 5 suit draw.
Yeah,
it's just
and now you're like,
you.
I would have been a really great hand if I would have just cut like the Shaw the first turn
Well, and
and
you've
played
got
normal
two
efficiency.
you've got 2 Ryanmen, so it's like this awkward balance of, well, I've got like 7 or 8 distinct terminals and honors.
Look at how this beautiful this hand would be. And everyone's looking at this card and going, what the heck?
Hey, well, now you have the psychological factor going in. Rowan just kind of tormenting the other players. Or himself, who knows?
Probably some of both.
Well, we do see the Formon cut now with the 9-pin draw.
Yeah, it's definitely a move towards Kokushi.
I mean,
the
it's still
problem
only
is all
8.
these pairs don't help. Dealer, though, in the meantime, is Ishanten. We haven't mentioned that.
Discarding the 7-9 shape.
Never mind. No longer Ishanten. Wants Tanya out of this.
That does enable you to call. And I mean, if you think that... Oh,
Con
there's the
for
con!
flow.
That flips the 7-mon.
Yeah, and dealer's like, thanks.
Just a gift
I do
there.
not like that con whatsoever. This hand is basically irredeemable. Your best path with Kokushi, and that's now dead. Well, if you pair up the North, I guess you can go for the North Honitsu. That's probably the plan here.
Suiso? You only have a few non-honor tiles to discard here.
Yeah, but you're going to need the last 2 easts in the wall. Most
likely. Just draw something else. There's another South. And discarding the 5-pin 6-pin.
Could have cheated for Tempai, instead passes it, and now I have to look at this weight. It's like, I can't read that, so I'm probably just going to push the 2.
But this is a pretty awful reachy 2, because you're waiting 2 so, 5 so, and 3 of those are discarded. You've got 2 so.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that. I think just may not have been able to read the 3-6 shape there.
There's 2 so, and 5 so left on the wall. Then we have the Chase from William waiting on the 2-pin.
Meanwhile, across the way, we have William waiting on Ipeco Junchan. Dora 1. So that'll be a Hanemon minimum, and that is definitely a comeback hand if you can get it.
Ooh, do we see a G
here?
There are
2 pin left.
G.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Takes it. Discard 5-pin? Nope, discard Shaw.
Yeah, you just get rid of one of those. Oh, there's a 2, and that's just 1 left. I don't think that ever comes out. Four is Nakasuji. It's not actually that bad a push.
Yeah, Nakasuji, because we do see the 1 so and the 7 so discarded post both Riichis.
Boom.
And there's Tempai.
There's our Tempai. Does manage to get back. You definitely have the hot, so you'd absolutely keep Tempai.
5-pin non.
And I says, thank you. I like safe tiles. Give me more, please.
Ooh, could discard
the 4
5
is a
Dora,
Dora,
that's for a 10.
It's Dora, though. So the question is, do you throw the 5 and take the forwards in, and gets punished?
Just
Good
doesn't want
opponent
to
and cut
deal
the
in.
other 5. I think that's how that's going to get played.
Yeah, I mean, the 5-pin's safe. Why not?
Yeah, just throw the 5.
Really, the 4-pin's a
has
better
one,
way.
but there's the
Oh,
Tsumo!
there's the 2-pin Tsumo!
Riichi, Tsumo, Ipeco, Junchan, Dora 1.
And there's the
And
Ura
the
for
Ura
the
for
Paimon!
Paimon.
That is
Boy,
the
we've had some
third time.
monster hands this game.
That is the third time tonight we have seen a 7-Han hand get 1 Ura for Paimon.
And I is still in first place, but not nearly as much as before. And just wake up with a hand like this for Chinitsu.
I mean, this is
Chinitsu
bonkers.
Itsu. On the right, we have a Pinfu type handling for the 456 Sanshoku. Across the way, looks like an Ipeco or a 789 Sanshoku. And on the left, we have the Pay pair and a few other pairs. Could go Toy, but I think you can't really just go Pay Nomi at South 4 and the 1,000 is going to really help you. I almost want to brute force the Toy.
Looking at I's hand here, what have you decided you are going to call as I? Which calls
7,
are you taking?
3, so if it gets
Pawn
Chi.
or Chi?
Yes.
Okay, so 7 Pawn or Chi, 3 so Chi.
And I think that's it. Maybe the 4 so Chi with the 5-6, but I'm not confident on that.
Yeah, that's a much trickier one to kind of adjudicate. Oh god, we do see that Rowan's hand across the way developing very well.
Already
could get the 7-8
for Riichi, Sanshoku, Ipeco.
Which would be incredible. Can open the hand for the Ipeco Nomi. Wouldn't get above 30k, but
that's not a thing.
Sanshoku Nomi, yeah, the other one.
It could be a Sanshoku, but you cannot open for Ipeco Nomi.
I mean, and Rowan just being a substitute, being over 30k or not isn't a huge deal. Doesn't really matter. It's just a neat hand.
Let me check that 5-pin. Do you cut 1 mon? Nope. Oh, there you go. You just hit the button, don't you? Yeah. If I look like it's a huge mistake if it's not the 5 yet. There you go. Riichi, Ipeco, Sanshoku. Waiting on the 8-pin, and all 4 of them are in the wall.
Ipeco Sanshoku is my favorite combination of Yaku. I just love the idea of 4 of the exact same sequence in a hand.
And I imagine that will get pushed if you get closer, but it shouldn't come out yet. Should be the pay first.
Or I would
maybe
push
the
East
tone.
first.
Nope, just folding.
Yeah, I mean you're in first. If everyone else is Tenpai and you're not, you end up second. But
and
still
even
above
if this
30K.
is a Manga and Sumo and you get second, you don't care that much, considering where I is sitting in the standings. Still 3 8-pin left though. Jeez. Yeah, definitely not going for it. Could have cheated that and cut the east and north, tried to play for maybe Tanyao or even potentially push that 8-pin later.
We'll see what Chris is thinking, though. That did develop the hand, pushes the north.
I mean, if I gets to Tempa, you absolutely jam the 8-pin. Like you have. Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
Draws the 2 so instead. Is Ishan 10 now?
And that is Tempai. Do you really want it though? And the answer is no.
What would you have to discard
Good
to be Tenpai
pawn.
there?
That is Tempai. Will not take it. Good discipline here by I. Oh
and
my
there's another
God.
8-pin. This is definitely Tenpai. I'm not. I need an explanation for the past 2 Tenpais. This one definitely Tenpai. Waiting on
6-9.
Yep.
But the 9 is not a Yaku.
Because it's Tanyao Nomi on the 6. There's another 8-pin. And there's a 6,
my
the Tsumo!
God.
That's
That's
beautiful.
just not fair to the rest of the table. That's just not fair. But we'll have another dealer turn here. Very disciplined there by I, never throwing the 8-pin. Realized it was a very dangerous tile. I just wasn't going to push it, and just drew perfectly the rest of the hand. Has a Pinfu hand, maybe any Peiko if you draw the 3-mon or 5-mon. On the right, Pinfu hand there as well. Maybe a 1-2-3 Sunshu later. Across the way, we have a Shaw pair, and I guess the rest of the hand's not great. The question is, are you in a situation where you particularly care about your placement? And the answer is not really. You're a sub. The question is, how aggressive are you going to play this? And on the left, feels like a Pinfu type hand, but kind of awkward. You're going to fill out Ryankan. 3-4-5 Sunshu would be nice, but it's still a distance away.
Yeah, Chris would very much like to elevate his placement here. Get into third rather than fourth. If you can get a Mongon, you can even get above 30k, switch a negative score into a positive. Now, Summerset's a good draw.
There's the West. Okay, yeah, just going to call, try and end this. Ishanten. Now, the efficient cut here is probably the 6-mon.
That would be perfect, Ishanten.
And there it goes. Three does not help that hand.
Neither does that 3.
Oh,
Ooh,
just draw a
Dora
second
pair.
Dora. Okay, this hand's all of a sudden very useful, very valuable as well.
I mean, very valuable, but still 3 Shanten.
Tenpai across the way just got the 6-pin.
Ooh.
Huh? I don't think the 1-so is the right cut there. You just cut the 6. You could make an argument for the 7 if you really like the Jumpone, but you should not be breaking away from Tenpai, and that would have been the end of this hand. Yeah, I think now realizes it. It may have just been a misclick.
Right, now you have the 3-sided for a 10, 1 for a 7 weight.
Now, maybe one where may not have paid attention to the fact that the Shaw was already called, probably tunnel vision a bit on Tanya, or it could have just been a misclick.
There's a 4-so draw for William. Obviously, you can't deal in, but do you discard 8-9 pinch on here? No, discards the 5-6 beyond.
I don't want to throw a door into this. That's your direct competition, and you could definitely fall under 30k dealing at a ton into Shaw door Tonki.
Now is he a tune? It's not live, but still cuts the 2-so instead.
Dealer now Ishanten.
A callable Ishanten can take Tanyao.
And I think we're just seeing a fold across the way at this point. Tupin could be pawned for Tenpai. I definitely take that.
Yeah, you're getting close to the end. A K10 call makes a lot of
William
sense.
in the standings? You do have a bit of a gap to make up. So first would be really nice, but I still think I call that and take my K10. Oh, we'll just draw into this.
Does take
the
Tenpai,
2 Dora. That was why. The 1-mon is completely dead. You're just waiting on the 8. So this should be a cheat. This should 100% be a cheat.
And then you can discard the pay. The pay is safe. It breaks a Patsu.
You wait on the 2-8.
Cheat.
There it is.
Now we do see
Tsumo.
Oh, but there's
Never
the
mind.
tune! Rowan
that's
gets
extra
it.
Foo. I think that's
And
oh
the
my
Ricci
goodness.
stick.
That's
The
enough
Ricci
to
stick
get
gets up to
over
30K.
and knock William under 30k.
Incredible! The Ricci stick changed so much there.
Yeah, and that's the result of not just taking the K10, getting a little greedy and punished for it, but I here manages off to that monstrous Tsumo with the Honitsu 3.4, even was pretty deep in the depths there early on. Manages the first. Rowan, the substitute, getting second right at 30K. In third place, William with that minus 5.5. Unfortunate with the reach stick at the end. And then in fourth, we have
Chris.
Chris. I know I'll get names eventually. But yes, Chris there with minus 22.9. So let's take a look at B2 first.
I don't know that I've seen a plus 5.0 yet. I mean, exactly 30K on the dot. I feel like I've seen it for a hand where there were 3 people at 30K or above. I don't know if I've ever seen the plus 5.0 30K in ARML up to this point.
Now we are waiting for the stats to update. All the database stuff's going in. It'll be there. I think there we have it now. If we can scroll down a bit. Ah, there we go. Okay, so William and Chris still in that demotion range, but a long way to go here. Nick, as I mentioned earlier, was supposed to be in this game, but was already in last place. Took a bunch of penalties for this series. Will definitely end up demoted. But I now into first place in the B2 division. A nice little win here on the end, was really down there and pulled it all together. So congratulations to I.
Well, and that's huge for I too. Those 2 firsts. I mean, I was on the borderline between promotion and not promoting. So those 2 firsts really changed I's situation for them.
All right. Well, as mentioned early in that match, we also have our B3 pairings set up now. So first, let's take a look at B3A. I think you can just grab someone from that, and it'll just fill everything.
Yeah, these promotions and demotions moved down quite a bit. We moved down to where first it was before first through third that had the guaranteed promotions. Now it's first through sixth. So that's an extra 6 people from, 3 from B3A, 3 from B3B that'll get that guaranteed promotion to B2. They all played very well. Every single one of those people deserved it, even if they did not have the guaranteed promotion before the games were finished. A lot of good players up in there.
Well, we have the top 6 auto promoted: Kayla, Jake, Viet, Galhan, Alon, and Eric. Alon, of course, had a top 32 at the Illustration WRC. Viet is a new Ho player at 7 Dawn, very high ranked, has done a lot of study with the bots, and I think you may have heard of Kayla somewhere before.
Yeah, a little bit. I know Kayla a bit.
And then we have Quinn and Emily will be going to the playoffs as the potential upgrades towards the B2 division. I know the graphic on the top right says B2. We're actually looking at the B3 right now, but that is going to be their situation. They'll be playing Blaine and Garth. That should be a fun series to watch.
That's going to be an incredible playoff game. I hope that they. I mean, it's going to be hard with Garth being on the Japanese time there. But it's that I would just love for us to be able to cast those. Though that's going to be an absolutely incredible playoff, deciding who goes up to B2, stays in B3.
And 15 will stay in B3 next season. That is Michael. Well, no. We got to switch a little early on it. Can we head back to B3A?
No, yeah. So on B3A, that's Michael V, Michael W, Rob G, Miguel C, Mike, Isabella, and Jessa.
Yeah, Jessa does manage to stay in B3 next season. And the playoff then means it goes down to Quincy and Jen. Another pro in a playoff. We'll get to Garth in a bit, but that should be a very exciting match. Those two will play. Let's
Zach
see.
and Leslie. Zach W,
Yeah,
Leslie
Zach
C.
and Leslie. I see a Quinn and a Quincy, and my mind wants to think they're the same person, and they're not.
I like how your brain did that with Quinn and Quincy, but not with Michael and Michael.
Well, we've seen Michael and Michael in other divisions, I believe, so I've at least gotten some used to that. And on the other side, the 11th to 20th will drop to C1. That is Cesar, James, and Jocelyn. So look to see them off with the new players as well in C1. Now we can take a look at B3B.
And these divisions were so stacked. It's not like any of these players were bad players. Like, I mean, like B3 was a truly terrifying place to be.
And Melissa just dominated B3B start to finish, plus 310. And second didn't even hit 150. Really close, but not quite at 150.
0.1
but
off.
That 20% spread, 27.9 to 7.4 deal, and that average feed of 28.22. Absolutely amazing. So the promotions out of this division are 1 through 6, which is Melissa, Damien, Hanley, Winchin, Irie, and Jai. Will all be going up to B2 next season. Congratulations to them. As you mentioned earlier, Blaine and Garth will be in the playoff. That I definitely want to cast that. That should be a really fun match. The 9 through 15 will stay in B3. Cassandra, Takahiro, Travis, Greg, Kevin, Scott, and Ellen. The 16 and 17 will be in their own playoffs. Zach and Leslie will be playing Quincy and
Jin and
Jen.
Quinn. Yep.
And at the bottom, Aaron, Steven, and Nicholas will drop to C1, unfortunately. But they will also have a chance with the new players coming to the league next season. So congratulations to everyone. And we will try to get as much of this stuff done as possible. It's a bit unfortunate that as we leaked over into the next week, but we didn't expect Tenho to just drop randomly. Apparently their host crashed because these were games that were scheduled, I believe, last Thursday. That's why it took till Thursday to get them in. But now that we have everything here, we are letting you know as quickly as we do.
Yeah, I mean, really, it just added to the excitement that was already present for session 6, just making everything even more tense and fun for us, the viewers. Less fun for the players, perhaps, according to what kind of people they are. But for us, like, we love the drama here. It's a lot of fun to get to watch all this unfold.
Certainly is. We had some monster hands in that last game. Wow, was that 3 Baimons, something like that?
I think 2 of the Baimons were in the last game. There was a Baimon in a game previous, but both of those Baimons made possible by Ura 1.
Right, yeah. I think they were all 3 of them were, because the other was Nathaniel in one of the A1 games. So plenty of explosive hands, explosive games, and the wrap up of B3. So once again, congratulations to all those who have finished where they were planning or hoping, and those who have promoted. But after that, any closing thoughts?
I mean, as we continue on session 6 here, you want to make sure that you don't miss any of the games that we broadcast. So to make sure that you're up to date on everything, make sure that you follow us on Twitter. That's at American Ricci. If you would like to join the ARML, you can go to our home website, which will be posted. It's americanricci.org. That'll be in the chat for you here to follow. Make sure you press the little heart in the bottom to follow us here. And then, of course, there's one other thing. Let's see, Twitter, homepage. Twitter, not Twitter. The stream
follow
on
Twitch, all that good stuff. But the other thing I'd say is
ARMLYT. There we go.
Yeah, all our archives. And I believe our next cast will be fairly early on Sunday. Starts at 12 Pacific, so that'll be 3 p.m. Eastern. Has a B1 match followed by an A1 match. The table of 5 that has played one game with Zhu, Max, Haro, Bishan, and Garrick. And then maybe some B2 action afterwards. So look forward to that. And with that, I think we're about ready to sign off. So for Ennui, this is Korak for the American Reach Mahjong League. Take care. Have a good night, everyone.